When it came time to choose dorm rooms in college, my best friend beat me to it and snagged the single room, leaving me with the 10-person room by default. She went on to enjoy the comforts of living alone throughout college. Meanwhile, in our 10-person dorm, I managed to latch onto a wealthy sugar mama, and right after graduation, I seamlessly landed a job at her family's company. My best friend, however, living alone with no one to keep her studies in check, failed countless courses and got held back a year. Resentful and unwilling to accept this, she took advantage of my distraction and pushed me down the stairs. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day of choosing dormitories in college. She had already snatched up the 10-person room. I stared at the familiar form on my phone, my fingers trembling slightly. The scene felt all too familiar. The exact same beginning to college life as in my previous existence, but this time, the choice was in my hands. Evelina, have you decided which one to choose? My best friend Ivy's voice came from behind me. I turned around and met her seemingly innocent big eyes. In our previous life, she had unhesitatingly chosen the single room, leaving me with the cramped 10-person dorm. Who would have thought that this seemingly disadvantageous choice would lead me to meet Vesper, the roommate who changed my destiny? Haven't decided yet, I pretended to hesitate with my answer, while out of the corner of my eye I saw Ivy's finger quietly pointing to the single-room option. Memories from my past life flooded back like a tidal wave. Ivy, my closest friend throughout high school, revealed her true colors on the very first day of university registration. She snatched the single room, leaving me crammed into a 10-person dorm. At first, I was filled with resentment, until I discovered that one of my roommates was the daughter of a multinational corporation's chairman. Vesper. Actually, I think the 10-person dorm is pretty great. Just then, Ivy suddenly spoke, her voice rising an octave. The more the merrier. A single room would be so lonely. My pupils contracted sharply. No, this was completely different from my past life. Back then, she had said while covering her nose, 10 people in one room, how dreadful, and then without hesitation chose a single room. Really? I suppressed my astonishment. I thought you'd prefer a single room. Ivy tossed her hair and flashed a deliberate smile. Why would I? Group living is so much fun. Isn't college all about making friends? She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Moreover, I heard that there's a Vesper heiress in the 10-person dormitory. My heart sank. Vesper's identity was a secret at the beginning of the school year and wasn't exposed until the third year. How could Ivy know? Unless... A terrifying conjecture formed in my mind. Ivy was also reborn. That's perfect. I forced a smile. Since you prefer the 10-person dorm, I'll take the single room. I actually enjoy the quiet. Ivy flashed a triumphant glint in her eyes, so fleeting it was almost imperceptible. She quickly reserved the 10-person dorm on her phone, as if afraid I might change my mind. I leisurely secured the remaining single room, smirking to myself. My past life experience of thriving in such environments led her to believe the 10-person dorm was a shortcut to success. Little did she know, the conflicts in a shared dormitory are beyond imagination. Evelina, you won't hold it against me, will you? Ivy blinked. I'm doing this for your own good. You're introverted and large crowds make you uncomfortable. Of course not, I said with a grateful expression. Thank you for being so considerate. After signing the form, I dragged my suitcase toward the single-occupancy dormitory area. At the corner, I glanced back over my shoulder. Ivy was eagerly exchanging contact information with several girls, likely inquiring about Vesper, too. The moment I closed the door to my single room, I leaned against it and slowly slid down to the floor, finally unable to hold back my laughter. The laughter rang out crisp and clear in the empty room, carrying the exhilaration of pent-up gloom from a past life being swept away all at once. As my fingers glided over the smooth wooden floor, I took a deep breath. Gone were the 10 different mingled scents of shower gel from my past life's 10-person dorm. Gone was the musty smell from the pile of laundry waiting in the corner, replaced only by the fresh scent of sun-dried bedsheets. This is what college life should really be like, I murmured to myself, feeling my eyes grow unexpectedly moist. In my previous life, I still vividly remember the despair I felt on that same first day of school when I was assigned to a 10-person dormitory. That dorm room at the end of the corridor was crammed with 5 bunk beds, leaving only a narrow aisle to walk through. My bed was the lower bunk on the left side by the entrance, directly facing the bathroom, where I fell asleep every night to the sound of flushing toilets. I stood up and began packing my belongings for this life. The single room came with its own desk, wardrobe, and nightstand, even a small balcony. The space I once had to share with 9 others now belonged to me alone. When I opened the wardrobe, I couldn't help but laugh. In my previous life, 10 of us shared just 2 wardrobes, each getting less than 30 centimeters of hanging space. To secure my spot, I had to wake up an hour early every day, retrieving my outfit while everyone else was still fast asleep. No, this 4-foot-wide closet serves me and me alone. The bathroom was another paradise, 10 people sharing 2 sinks and 3 showers. With morning queues rivaling a train station during the spring festival travel rush, I'll never forget that chilly December morning, standing there with my hair full of shampoo suds. Just as I shrieked from the sudden blast of cold water, an impatient knock came at the door. "Hurry up in there, other people are waiting." "No," I hummed to myself as I placed my toothbrush and cup in their designated spot on the sink, with no fear of them being taken by mistake or accidentally knocked to the floor. Only my own skincare products sit before the mirror, no need for labels on bottles or daily inventory checks. After unpacking, I collapsed onto the single bed with my limbs splayed out. The mattress was much softer than the hard bunk I remembered from the 10-person dorm, and the pillow smelled fresh and new. In my past life, I was always on edge, needing earplugs to fall asleep even late at night. My bunkmate above snored loudly. The girl across from me often video called her boyfriend in the middle of the night, and the spot by the window was drafty in winter and stifling in summer. My phone suddenly vibrated with a notification from the dorm group chat. When I clicked it open, it was a photo Ivy had posted in our 10-person dorm group chat: a cramped room, an aisle packed with suitcases, and a group photo that deliberately included Vesper. "Dorm life is so lively." Ivy had captioned it, "just a bit short on storage space, huh." In the corner of the photo, I saw Vesper standing expressionless by her bunk, surrounded by the other girls' luggage. In my previous life, it was me who took the initiative to clear the space that others had taken over, which earned me her initial trust. Meanwhile, Ivy was busy striking poses for photos, completely oblivious to Vesper's discomfort. I replied with an envy emoji and a smile, then closed the group chat. Let Ivy enjoy the bustling atmosphere she's always dreamed of. I have more important matters to attend to. At my desk, I spread open a brand new notebook and began planning this lifetime's course schedule. In my previous life, the dormitory was so noisy that I had to spend every day in the library until closing time. Even back in the dorm, I had to endure all sorts of noise. The chronic sleep deprivation kept my grades stuck in the middle of the pack. Now I can study or rest whenever I want, without having to accommodate anyone else's schedule. My stomach growled, and I glanced at the time of 5:30 p.m. In my previous life, I would never dare to leave the library at this hour, because if I went back to my dorm to get my meal card, finding a study spot again would be nearly impossible. But now, I can go out to eat anytime without worrying about returning to find my bed cluttered with other people's belongings or discovering that my charger has mysteriously vanished again. In the cafeteria, I leisurely picked up my favorite dishes, no longer wolfing down my food in a rush like I did in my previous life. While carrying my tray and looking for a seat, I caught sight of Ivy and Vesper sitting in the corner. Ivy was animatedly talking about something, while Vesper kept her head down eating, occasionally nodding half-heartedly. I chose a seat where I could see them without being noticed. Ivy's performance was way too obvious, constantly serving Vesper food and lavishly praising her outfit. Like a peacock strutting for a mate. In my past life, it took me 3 months to get Vesper to lower her guard. It wasn't because we shared a dorm, but because I took her to the infirmary when she felt unwell. Ivy clearly only remembers the outcome, not the process. Back in my single room, I brewed a cup of floral tea and sat on the small balcony watching the sunset. This is the time when the 10-person dorm is at its noisiest. Someone's practicing guitar, another is live streaming. A group is gaming together, and here I am, hiding inside my mosquito net trying to focus. My phone buzzed again, a private message from Ivy. "Vesper is so hard to approach. Do you have any suggestions?" I almost choked on my tea. Ivy was actually asking me for help. I deliberately waited a few minutes before replying. "Show some sincerity, don't try so hard." After sending that, I set my phone to silent and tossed it onto the bed, then walked to my desk, turned on the computer, and started reviewing tomorrow's lesson. The quiet room was filled only with the sound of keyboard clicks and the occasional chirping of birds outside the window. How I've longed for such a study environment, and now I've finally got my wish. This is usually the time when I feel most anxious. I haven't finished the assignment due for tomorrow's early class, yet the dorm is so noisy I can't even think straight. I want to turn in early to recharge, but my roommates are just getting their night started, and now, at exactly 10 o'clock, I turn off the bedside lamp and stretch out in complete darkness and silence. The lavender sachet by my pillow releases its soothing scent, and I feel sleepiness wash over me almost instantly. In my groggy state, my phone screen lit up. I forced my eyes open to see it was Ivy who had sent a photo. The 10-person dorm is brightly lit, with a group of girls gathered around playing a board game. The background filled with shrieks and laughter. The clock showed 1:15 a.m. This is what college life should be like, lively and exciting. Ivy's words were dripping with boastfulness. I smiled as I dismissed the notification and tucked my phone under the pillow. Let her enjoy her lively night. Tomorrow at 7 a.m., when she and her roommates struggled to get up for their morning class, I strode into the classroom bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, claiming the center seat in the very first row. And this was only day one of my blissful single-room life. 3. The next morning, I pushed open the classroom door with 15 minutes to spare. I settled into the middle seat of the third row, the spot that always got snatched up early by overachievers in my past life. The constant noise in my dorm made it impossible to get a good night's sleep, so I often ended up rushing into the classroom right on the dot, only to find myself stuck in some corner seat as students trickled in. The classroom gradually filled up. Just as the bell rang, the professor had already started calling roll when the back door suddenly flew open, slamming against the wall with a loud bang. The whole class turned to see Ivy standing breathless at the doorway, her hair sticking out as if swept by a typhoon. Her shirt was buttoned unevenly, and the lace on her right sneaker was still untied. Sorry, she panted, catching her breath. My dorm alarm didn't go off. The professor furrowed his brow. Name: Ivy. A few muffled snickers rippled through the classroom. In her past life, Ivy was always among the first to arrive in the classroom. With impeccable makeup and proper attire, she'd often watch us last-minute stragglers with an air of condescending amusement. Now, the tables have completely turned. Find a seat and sit down. Pay more attention next time. The professor continued calling roll. Ivy staggered toward the back row, casting me a complicated glance as she passed by. I pretended not to notice and lowered my head to write today's date in my notebook. After class, just as I finished packing my books, Ivy rushed to my desk. Evelina, I can't take it anymore. That dorm is absolutely uninhabitable. I looked up and finally noticed her dark circles were even worse than yesterday, her eyes bloodshot. What's wrong? I asked, my tone surprisingly calm even to myself. Bertha, the one across from me, snores like a tractor. Even 3 layers of earplugs are useless, Ivy said through gritted teeth, and Mabel by the window video calls her boyfriend at 3 a.m., cackling like a hen. I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. Bertha's snoring and Mabel's late-night videos, these are the classic tortures that always get to me. Who would have thought that after being reborn, these shows would be passed down intact to Evie? Oh, and get this, Ivy kept pouring out her grievances, completely oblivious to my expression. My brand new SK2 cream, I've only used it twice and half of it's already gone. Iris insists it's her own identical purchase, but the mark I made on the bottom of the jar has clearly disappeared. You could report it to the dorm supervisor. I deliberately offered the useless suggestion. The dorm supervisor, Ivy's voice shot up an octave. That Greta just says dorm life is about mutual tolerance and then does nothing about it. I suggest you try to adapt. I stood up. After all, you're the one who chose this dorm. Over the following weeks, Ivy's daily rant became a regular feature. Sometimes we'd bump into each other in the cafeteria, other times there'd be chance encounters at the library. But most often she'd just knock directly on my single dorm room door. The topics of her visits also evolved from initial sleep issues to all sorts of bizarre incidents. Doris actually used my towel to wipe her feet, and had the nerve to say they looked too similar to tell apart. They mixed up my laundry and returned the wrong underwear. I'm missing 2 pieces now. Every time I listen to her complaints, I maintain a politely sympathetic expression while secretly reveling in the tranquility of my single room. Last night, Ivy came knocking on my door again, saying the dorm's AC was broken. All 14 of us were crammed in there like steamed buns in a basket, sweating through the night. Meanwhile, I was sitting at my desk, enjoying the crisp autumn evening. This afternoon, I bumped into Ivy again at the library. She looked even more haggard than the past few days, clutching an extra-large iced Americano. What's wrong now? I closed the research paper I was reading. Doris. She spat out the name through gritted teeth. The one sleeping on the lower bunk by the door. She borrowed my power bank and won't give it back, insisting it's hers. I blinked. Zhao Xiaoyu had been notorious in our previous dorm for borrowing others' belongings, with a particular fondness for power banks and charging cables. You know what the most ridiculous part is? Ivy continued, completely consumed by her anger. That power bank clearly had my initials LY engraved on it. And she actually used nail polish to paint over the letters and change them to ZY. Does she think I'm blind? This time I couldn't hold back and let out a soft chuckle. In my past life, I once found my missing lipstick in Ivy's makeup bag. The WW label had been altered to LY. Ivy gritted her teeth. Thankfully Vesper has no issues at all, quiet and polite. If only the whole dorm were filled with people like her. I let out a cold laugh inwardly. Vesper has no issues. Give it more time, and you'll realize she's the biggest problem in the entire dorm. My phone buzzed just as I was organizing my notes at the desk in my single room. As I unlocked my phone screen, Ivy's message immediately popped up, a cheek-to-cheek photo of her and Vesper. In the picture, Ivy was beaming with a radiant smile, her meticulously made-up face practically pressing into the lens, while Vesper, though smiling, had a distant gaze and was noticeably leaning away, exuding discomfort. Look. Vesper and I are already good friends. Ivy's words brimmed with smug satisfaction. She promised to take me to an upscale cocktail party this weekend. Rumor has it there'll be plenty of business elites. Zooming in on the photo, I noticed the faint dark circles under Vesper's eyes. That subtle detail acted like a key, instantly unlocking the floodgates of past life memories. In her past life, Vesper was far less glamorous than she appeared on the surface. Struggling with severe depression and an eating disorder, she moved into a 10-person dormitory purely to spite her father. The head of the Vesper family conglomerate opposed her choice of college major, so she deliberately traded her luxurious mansion for a cramped shared dorm, all to experience how ordinary people live. Congratulations, I replied briefly, unable to suppress a smile. Ivy thought she'd struck gold, unaware she was actually holding a ticking time bomb. Putting down my phone, I walked to the window and took a deep breath. My past life with Vesper was far from the glamorous facade it appeared to be. Those exhausting nights evoked by Ivy's photos feel particularly vivid. I remember it was around midterms during freshman year, at 3 a.m., when I was jolted awake by muffled sobs. Following the sound, I found Vesper curled up in a corner of the public bathroom, fresh cuts visible on her wrist. That night, I stayed with her in the emergency room until dawn. Listening to her fragmented account of resentment toward her father and self-loathing, she's just going through a temporary rough patch, right? Ivy's new message pulled me from my memories. Well, she's a rich girl, a bit of a temper comes with the territory. I let out a cold laugh. Petty tantrums. In our past life, Vesper's petty tantrums included, but were not limited to, she went 3 days without eating or drinking, vanished in the middle of the night making the whole dorm search for her, and burned the black card her father gave her right in our room, and I, as the only roommate she trusted, was left to clean up all these messes. The scariest part was that the dorm supervisor was a female bodyguard her father had pulled strings to place there. Officially, she was there to take care of the young lady's needs, but in reality, she was monitoring every single move in the dorm. That woman named Greta loitering outside the dorm every day, scrutinizing us with her piercing gaze. She even knocks on the door if I take too long in the restroom. This time, Ivy sent a video. She was enthusiastically explaining something to Vesper, with a box of exquisite pastries on the table. I specially had my family send over local specialties from my hometown. Vesper said they'd never tasted such authentic handmade pastries before. My finger hovered over the screen, momentarily at a loss for how to respond. In my previous life, I shared some peanuts with her, never expecting that Vesper had a severe peanut allergy. Meanwhile, Ivy's hometown specialty snack happened to be made with peanuts. After that allergic reaction, Vesper's father nearly got our entire dorm expelled. I had to beg on my knees to calm things down, as long as she likes it. In the end, I only replied with those 4 words, let Ivy discover this little surprise on her own. I won't give any heads up this time. Walking over to the desk, I opened a psychology textbook. In my past life, to take care of Vesper, I taught myself a great deal of psychology, even changing my major because of it. Now, at last, I can use that knowledge purely for my own benefit. Instead of constantly guarding against some young lady's emotional meltdowns, cheerful laughter came from outside the window. I leaned out to look and saw Ivy and Vesper walking from the direction of the cafeteria. Ivy was holding on to Vesper's arm, though the latter was smiling. Her body language clearly showed resistance to this kind of intimacy. When they reached the dormitory building, Vesper suddenly shook off Ivy's hand and quickly walked through the entrance. I can almost picture Ivy's stunned expression right now. Vesper is like that, polite and gentle on the surface, but with clear boundaries. Any overly intimate gesture crossing the line triggers her defense mechanism. And Ivy has clearly stepped over the red line. My phone lit up again, this time with a voice message from Ivy. I clicked play and heard her hushed voice, Evelina, Vesper just got angry all of a sudden, and I have no idea why. Aren't you good with people? Please tell me what to do. I stared at this message for a solid 10 seconds. In my past life, I was indeed close with Vesper, but that came at the cost of countless sleepless nights and utter exhaustion. Ivy only sees the glamorous surface of party invitations, unaware of what it truly costs behind the scenes. Give her some space, I replied. She probably doesn't like friends who are too clingy. Vesper locks herself in the bathroom for hours after every emotional breakdown, while the rest of the dorm either turns a blind eye or complains incessantly. I'm the only one who has to stand guard outside, terrified she might do something drastic. I was the one who found her after she slit her wrists and immediately called an ambulance. That night, when her father rushed to the hospital, instead of thanking me, he coldly demanded to know why I hadn't kept a better eye on his daughter. I took a deep breath and pushed these dark memories back down into the depths of my heart. Now I live in a quiet single room, far away from all that drama. Let Ivy experience all this herself. She'll soon realize that being a rich roommate isn't the golden ticket she imagined. On my way to the cafeteria at dusk, I deliberately took a detour past the 10-person dormitory area. Through the half-open door, I saw Ivy sitting by Vesper's bedside, saying something, while Vesper had her back to the door, shoulders stiff. The box of pastries on the table remained untouched. "Vesper, just try a little bite. I saved it especially for you." Ivy's voice drifted out. I quickened my pace as I walked away, silently counting down in my head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vesper, what's wrong?" Ivy's scream came from behind. I didn't look back, heading straight for the cafeteria. In my past life, this was when I would have rushed back to help, called an ambulance, and stayed at the hospital all night. But this time, I chose to leisurely enjoy my dinner in the cafeteria, even treating myself to an extra dessert. Back in my single room, I brewed a cup of hot tea and sat by the window, taking in the campus night view. The phone screen kept lighting up, showing Ivy's missed calls and a series of urgent messages. Vesper suddenly broke out in hives all over. "The infirmary said she needs to be hospitalized. Evelina, where are you? Reply to me now. Her father is here. It's terrifying. Help me. They're saying I'll be held responsible. This time, I won't be the fool cleaning up other people's messes anymore. This time, I'm going to watch Ivy personally discover what truly lies behind my past life's lucky break." I picked up my phone and sent a reply to Ivy. "Sorry, just saw this. Since you're her roommate and close friend, just keep her company. That's all you need to do." After sending this message, I turned off my phone. No friends demanding my attention. This is what college life should really be like. She'll soon realize that some forms of luck are far less pleasant than they appear on the surface. 5. At 11 p.m., while reviewing research papers in my single dorm room, I was abruptly interrupted by urgent knocking at the door. "Evelina, open the door. I know you're in there." Ivy's voice came through the door, clearly choked with tears. After saving my files, I leisurely walked over to open the door. The Ivy standing outside was almost unrecognizable. Her once meticulously styled curls now lay greasy and flat against her scalp. Her eye makeup had smudged into raccoon circles, and a prominent cold sore had formed at the corner of her mouth. She clutched a bulging backpack in her arms, looking every bit like someone ready to move out. "I'm switching dorms with you." "No." Immediately, she barged in without waiting for an invitation, her backpack thudding onto my bed. I closed the door and leaned against the desk, calmly observing her. In her past life, Ivy was always graceful and proper. When had she ever been in such a wretched state? "What's wrong? Isn't the 10-person dorm absolutely fantastic?" I quoted her original description. "Stop playing dumb." Ivy's voice suddenly rose, then dropped abruptly, as if afraid of being overheard by someone in the hallway. "Do you know what kind of lunatic Vesper is? She slit her wrists again last night. Blood was splattered everywhere. When the ambulance arrived, the whole building came out to gawk." I raised an eyebrow. In my previous life, the first wrist-cutting incident happened after midterms, but this time it occurred a full month earlier. Ivy's thoughtful care clearly accelerated the deterioration of Vesper's condition. "And then?" I asked calmly. "Then, there is no then." Ivy clutched at her own hair. "Her father posted 4 bodyguards at the dorm entrance 247, and they search our bags every time we come or go. That psycho Greta even went through my diary." Her voice started trembling. "And all those ridiculous rules. Lights out at 10 p.m., no loud talking, no smelly food. This isn't a dorm. It's a prison." I've been through that too, but back then I had no choice but to tough it out. "So you want to switch back to a single room?" "Exactly. You managed just fine in that 10-person dorm in your past life anyway." Ivy looked at me with hopeful eyes. "Let's switch back and pretend none of this ever happened." The water cup froze midair. Ivy's eyes widened as she realized she'd let something slip. The room fell into a deathly silence. I looked up at her, a knowing smile curling at the corner of my lips. "So you've been reborn too?" Ivy's face flushed red, then turned pale, then ashen. What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said." I stared straight into her eyes. "I know you've been reborn, just as you know I have too, moments ago." "No, I was just..." "Ivy," I cut her off, "let's stop pretending. You rushed to claim that 10-person dorm after your rebirth because you saw how I met Vesper there in our previous life, but you only saw the glamorous surface, not the price that came with it." Her lips began to tremble, the carefully constructed facade crumbling. "You had no idea Vesper was battling severe depression and borderline personality disorder." I continued. "No clue how controlling her father was, no concept of the energy it took for those late-night hospital runs and emotional crises." I took a step forward. "All you see are the cocktail parties, the celebrities, and the internship opportunities. But you're blind to what it actually takes to get them. Ivy's eyes suddenly blazed with fury. So you knew all along. You deliberately set me up to fall into this trap. Did I ever try to stop you? I retorted. On the first day of school, you were the one who couldn't wait to sign up for that 10-person dorm. I just didn't share what I knew from my past life. You bitch. Ivy sprang to her feet. You could have told me the truth. We're supposed to be best friends. Best friends. I let out a cold laugh. When you pushed me down the stairs out of jealousy in our past life, did our friendship mean anything to you? When Vesper drove me to the brink of a nervous breakdown, did you ever once show concern? I closed in on her. The only time you'd acknowledge my achievement was when you heard I landed an internship at the Vesper group, and even then you just sneered how lucky. Ivy staggered back as if struck in a vulnerable spot. So after your rebirth, you planned to get back at me all along? No, I shook my head. I just want to live a different life. In my previous existence, I was trapped in a 10-person dorm, forced to take care of Vesper, though I gained some benefits in the end. That wasn't the life I wanted. This time around, I chose a single room and focused on my studies. These achievements are what I earned through my own efforts. Not by currying favor with anyone. Ivy suddenly deflated like a punctured balloon and slumped onto the bed. I can't take it anymore, she said, her voice trembling with tears. That dorm is driving me crazy. Vesper has become completely dependent on me. She even needs me to accompany her in the bath. Greta monitors my every move. Please, Evelina, let's switch back. Once upon a time, in my past life, I had pleaded with Ivy just as desperately, hoping she would share some of the responsibility of caring for Vesper. How did she respond back then? You should count yourself lucky. Others would kill for the chance to get close to Miss Vesper. No, my voice was calm but firm. Why, aren't you doing perfectly fine now? You don't even need Vesper. Precisely because I'm doing well. I won't give up my single room. I walked to the door and opened it. Besides, this is the path you chose yourself. Ivy. Rebirth gave us the chance to change our fate. You chose to retrace my steps, while I chose to forge a new path. Ivy's eyes flashed with venom. You'll regret this, maybe. I shrugged. But at least for now, I'm content with my life. She grabbed her backpack and stormed out, then suddenly spun around in the hallway. You think good grades and a scholarship make you special. Without the Vesper family's connections, you'll be nothing after graduation. Good night, Ivy. I smiled and closed the door. 6. Soon, in my sophomore year, I earned the national scholarship through diligent study. My gaze swept over the admiring and envious looks from my classmates, finally landing on a familiar figure in the farthest corner, Ivy. Even from this distance, I could see how much she had changed. The vibrant girl with immaculate makeup who radiated energy at the start of the semester had vanished, replaced by a slouching figure with vacant eyes. Her dull, straw-like hair was hastily tied into a messy ponytail, while prominent breakouts dotted her forehead. The dark circles under her eyes showed through even the heaviest foundation. She looked at least a decade older than her actual age. How strangely fate comes full circle. This time, I was the one standing in the light while she remained huddled in the shadows. After the awards ceremony, I watched Ivy trudge toward the 10-person dormitory area, her hunched back resembling a little old woman's, and just ahead of her was Vesper, the two of them inseparable. Rebirth granted me the chance to rewrite my destiny, and I've finally delivered a perfect answer. Story 2. I'm the most pampered junior sister of the beast-taming sect. On the day our sect selected spirit beasts, I was about to choose the majestic Black Phoenix, when a barrage of comments flashed before my eyes. Why should the female lead's hard-earned reward be stolen by this spoiled, talentless brat? That supporting female character is toast. 3 seconds till she gets obliterated. My hand slipped, and the contract landed on a powerless mutt sunbathing outside. The beast hall fell into dead silence. Everyone looked at me with pitying eyes as if I were a fool, but the live comments exploded. I'm a talentless hack who can't even reach Foundation establishment. During the sect tournament, I was the first one knocked off the arena. By all rights, the strong should reign supreme. Yet somehow I became the most favored junior sister in the beast-taming sect, even when selecting top-tier spirit beasts. They let me, the weakest, choose first. After scanning the hall, my gaze settled on that obsidian phoenix. Its sapphire plumage blazed like fire, with a gaze so regal it dwarfed every other mystical beast in the hall. If I could ride this creature, who'd dare call me worthless? I took a step toward the dark phoenix, raising my hand to point, when suddenly, glowing golden characters materialized before my eyes. After the heroine risked her life to win the sect tournament, how dare that spoiled good-for-nothing steal her reward? That supporting character's just waiting to get incinerated by the Phoenix's backlash. 3-second exit guaranteed. Haha, every story needs its disposable clown who dies embarrassingly fast. What supporting character? What heroine? Following the barrage of comments, my gaze turned towards senior disciple Neve. Fresh bandages covered her wounds, with traces of blood still glistening at the corner of her lips. Her usually aloof eyes were now locked onto the mystic phoenix, burning with frustration and longing. Why would they place the champion's exclusive reward here among common items? Gritting my teeth, I forced my gaze back to the dark phoenix perched atop the jade pedestal. As if sensing my stare, it tossed its long neck impatiently, refusing to spare me another glance. See, I told you, only the female lead can tame this creature. Hurry up and form the contract. I want to see that bitch get burned to a crisp. Who dares steal the female lead's destiny now? The barrage comments kept flooding in like crazy. A cold sweat instantly broke out down my spine, making the spiritual energy gathered at my fingertips for activating the contract waiver. My hand jerked, throwing the aim off course. The spirit contract landed squarely into someone's mouth that had just finished yawning and hadn't yet closed. A golden flash. The entire spirit beast hall fell into dead silence in an instant. Even the waiting mystic phoenix gave me a sidelong glance, as if assessing a fool who'd lost his marbles. Neve froze momentarily, her face betraying rare confusion and shock. The crowd stood dumbfounded, then turned to look at the ordinary black puppy basking on the doorstep, devoid of any spiritual energy. Their expressions eventually morphed into pitying looks one might give a fool. Before my eyes, that translucent celestial curtain, after a brief lull, exploded with tenfold the previous ferocity. The little black dog was round as a barrel, its fur tousled like wild grass. The Covenant's radiance came crashing down, mystical vines of light instantly entangling its entire body. The next moment, it was securely cradled in my arms. It lifted its eyelids to give me a sidelong glance. Its little head burrowed into the spirit stone pouch at my waist, plucking out a stone to munch on. Before I could recover from the contract's shock, I felt a tremor in my dantian. The spiritual energy that had been stagnant like stagnant water suddenly surged forth like a bursting dam. Boom! My cultivation broke through 2 bottlenecks in one go, reaching the 5th stage of chi refining. My heart skipped a beat. I was stunned. Then came the barrage of bullet comments. Forget the plot, y'all. That dog looks familiar. HOLYSH*T. It's the arch-villain Loren, who survived mortal wounds by hiding a soul fragment in a stray dog to sneak into the spirit beast's Chirich grounds to heal. The villain was supposed to seize this chance to corrupt the heroine, but now the supporting female character snatched him away as her spirit pet. The max-level powerhouse is actually my spirit pet. As I stood there stunned, Eldershin patted my shoulder reassuringly and said, "Keep this cockatiel for now. We can renew the spirit pact after the cooldown period." I never would have imagined that right after getting rid of this troublesome bird, Eldershin would push it back into my hands with that doting expression. Neve's fingertips trembled slightly, as if suppressing overwhelming emotions. A sudden flood of bullet comments rolled in. My heart aches for the FL. She just wanted to be seen for once. Can't wait for the FL to snap and team up with the villain to burn the whole sect to the ground. No, Eldershin, the one I truly love is this dog. Before the senior sister departed in silence, I deliberately cradled the little black puppy in my arms like a treasure. Who didn't know this was just a common mutt? The looks others gave me grew more complicated, a mix of pity and admiration. Even the spirit beasts who'd scorned me earlier lamented not being chosen by someone as devoted as me. The black pup hung midair, its half-lidded eyes snapping wide open, as if realizing his dignity as the demon lord was being compromised by this madwoman lifting him up in public. He thrashed wildly to no avail, resorting to covering his face with his paws. I clung tightly to the little black dog in my arms. This disciple has observed that the Dark Phoenix seems more attached to the first senior sister. Having her form the contract might unleash the Phoenix's true potential and strengthen our sect. Eldershin still wanted to persuade. The Phoenix seemed to understand something, suddenly raising its head and taking a step toward Neve with a soft cry. Neve's eyes showed disbelief, her half-taken step freezing mid-motion. Her gaze fell upon me, clearly puzzled. A barrage of thoughts flashed through my mind. Don't fall for it, protagonist. She's totally playing the innocent card as reverse psychology. Wait, why did the supporting female lead just bolt? I dashed from the temple doors straight back to my meditation chamber, finally exhaling deeply. It's good to be alive. The next second, I turned to look at the spirit stone pouch. My heart sank instantly. Are you a money-devouring beast? I silently glanced at the furry ball in my arms and poked its forehead in annoyance. You've already finished all the premium spirit stones I just got this month. Instead of feeling guilty, it arrogantly lifted its chin like some entitled lord. The message was clear. Still hungry, once more, gone, not a single drop left. I set it down firmly and gave it a stern refusal. Seeing I wouldn't engage, it whooshed off the windowsill without leaving a single hair behind. Meanwhile, I was preoccupied with planning my next move. The comforting surge of spiritual energy had faded by midnight. My chest felt crushed by an invisible weight as chaotic energy raged through my meridians. I jolted awake, drenched in cold sweat. The little black dog still hadn't returned. The quiet midnight outside was suddenly shattered by a clamor of voices. Throwing on my robe, I grabbed a passing disciple. "What's all the commotion about?" he whispered urgently. "Neve stole our sect's sacred treasure, the spirit-calming elixir. The second senior brother is taking her to the forbidden spirit hall with the enforcers." The barrage floods the screen again. Here we go. The female lead's about to get tortured again. Second senior brother sent the heroine to the spirit sealing hall without evidence or the sect leader's approval. The female lead's corruption meter just got another boost. Holding up my skirts, I sprinted all the way to the hall of forbidden spirits. Several enforcers stood in the hall, with the sect master yet to arrive. Eldershan personally presided over the interrogation. "Neve, do you confess your crimes?" Neve was forced to her knees before the assembly, restrained by several enforcers. His back stood straight as a solitary bamboo in the snow. "This disciple has never committed theft. What wrong have I done?" Seeing her denial, Eldershan snorted coldly. "Stubborn fool, since you refuse to confess, this old man shall search your soul himself to uncover your deeds." With that, he raised his hand, a blinding spiritual light coalescing in his palm. The barrage of comments flew across the screen. "Is this old man insane? Soul searching without evidence. That's no different from killing her. Arg, this is driving me crazy. She didn't steal the elixir. That damn dog ate it as a snack. Holy hell. Forcing into her consciousness, he will shatter the heroine's spiritual veins, destroy her cultivation, and get her thrown into the forbidden back mountains to suffer endless torment. Let me just say, this villain's truly despicable, feeding on her resentment to cultivate, only to realize he's fallen for her and end up crying while chasing her in a dumpster fire romance. I instantly zeroed in on the key point. So Loren stole the elixir. Neve clenched her jaw stubbornly, her voice trembling slightly. "Without the sect leader's decree, Eldershan, you have no right to mete out private punishment." "Private punishment?" Eldershan let out a mirthless laugh in his fury. "Tonight was your watch at the Hall of Medicinal Kings. The barrier around the spirit-calming pills remains intact. Who else but you could have stolen them?" Spiritual energy surged in his palm, clearly signaling an end to negotiations. With a roar, I scooped up the little black dog that had been watching the drama unfold from its corner. "The senior sister didn't steal the elixirs." I pointed at the furry culprit in my arms. "That's the one. It's the thief. Has our junior sister lost her mind?" Pinning the blame on a stray mutt. Everyone was looking at me with hashy-gone-mad eyes. Second brother even stepped in front of me, urgently pleading, "Junior sister, stop this nonsense. I know you're trying to defend Neve, but you can't just pin the blame on your spirit beast. This is serious." Apologize to the elder at once. "I'm not being reckless." I pushed him aside and met Eldershan's gaze directly. "If the elder doubts my words, examine it yourself. The traces of spirit-suppressing elixir must still linger on its body." Eldershan frowned with skeptical hesitation, yet he extended a finger, releasing a shimmering light that settled upon the black pup. The next instant, he staggered backward with startled disbelief. "This truly carries the aura of that legendary elixir." The crowd exchanged uneasy glances, momentarily at a loss. At that moment, an authoritative voice rang out. "If a spirit beast commits wrongdoing, it must be executed publicly." The sect master's expression turned icy as he flicked his sleeve, unleashing a wave of spiritual pressure. Before I could react, the little black pup in my arms was swept away. In that instant, the screen exploded with frantic comments. "Stop!" Even weakened, the demon lord's soul explosion could still reduce the entire sect to ashes. "Is the supporting character insane? She's gonna get the female lead's baby killed too." I jolted in shock. My mind flashed back to that strange, icy aura when the contract was first formed. "Spare the dog." Before I could think further, I'd already thrown myself between the black pup and the sect leader. The palm strike sent me crashing into a temple pillar, the metallic taste of blood rising in my throat. Bound by the contract's effect, Loren coughed up blood and looked up at me. His eyes held no gratitude, only bewilderment. Then he averted his gaze as if it meant nothing to him. Gasping for breath while leaning against the pillar, I met the sect master's gaze. "When a spirit beast errs, its master shares the blame. This disciple is willing to sever my own cultivation and reflect in the frost cavern for a year." I begged the sect master to spare its life. The sect master's eyes darkened. "You protect it?" "Yes." "This disciple accepts the punishment. What's the point of cultivation when survival comes first? I'm just a hopeless case anyway." Yet others perceived it as devoted protection of a beloved companion. Some sentimental female disciples even had tears welling in their eyes. They praised me, saying while I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, my loyalty and devotion more than make up for it. Meanwhile, the little black dog trapped midair by spiritual chains, its previously stiffly raised tail now wagging slightly. The sect master ordered me to retrieve the dragonheart herb within a month, with a flick of his hand. The sex oath decree landed in my palm. Think carefully. Failure means the oath's backlash, shattered spiritual contract and severed meridians. Dragon heartgrass is the key ingredient for spirit-calming pills, guarded by demonic dragons and found only in lethal secret realms. For a useless cultivator like me, going there would be suicide, yet I didn't hesitate. This disciple seeks to atone through meritorious deeds. The next instant, the jade token suddenly radiated a blinding silver glow. 3 days in confinement for reflection, the truth came to light, and the crowd dispersed. They brushed off their wrongful accusation of the senior sister so casually, without even an apology. Before being confined, I slipped a vial of the finest revival elixir into her hand. Her face streaked with blood, she lifted her gaze to meet mine. Those clear eyes held neither sorrow nor joy, only an icy detachment. I grabbed Eldershan and second senior brother by their sleeves. Eldershan, you truly embody the pinnacle of impartial justice in our beast-taming sect. Thanks to your keen discernment, the true culprit was brought to justice, and our eldest senior sister's innocence was vindicated. He froze, visibly flustered by my sudden flattery. I tilted my head with faint confusion. Well, according to sect rules, since you've wronged a fellow disciple, shouldn't you make amends to uphold our sect's reputation for impartial justice? I turned to the second senior brother with an even sweeter smile. Second senior brother has always been the most protective of our sect brothers. His earlier outburst came from genuine concern. Now that the truth is out, he must share senior sister's relief. With such flattery laid thick, they'd appear petty indeed if they didn't respond accordingly. The two men bowed with clasped hands, muttering indistinctly, "Nephew Sue." This old man acted rashly. "Sorry, senior sister." Neve gave a slight nod. Accepting their apology, she looked at me, lips parting slightly before tightening her grip on the medicine bottle instead. Those eyes, always cool as autumn waters, it feels like a melting glacier at this moment. Wrong script. The useless side character saved the heroine, and forced others to apologize to her. Something's fishy. I bet she's up to no good. Seconded. I suspect that side character has a bigger scheme, probably gaining the heroine's trust just to stab her in the back later. The ice cavern was bitterly cold. Huddled on the stone bed, I felt the chill seep into my very bones, yet paradoxically, a fiery heat burned in my dantian. The spiritual energy from Lauren's ingested elixirs flowed back to me through our soul bond, overwhelming my body's capacity. In the dead of night, the burning sensation within me suddenly subsided. As if soothed by a gentler force, half asleep, I felt something warm press against me, nestling softly into the crook of my neck. I even caught the faintest whisper of crisp cedarwood in the air. By morning, all traces of discomfort had completely vanished. A dark silhouette sat motionless at the foot of my bed. When my eyes focused, I barely recognized it. Its frame had nearly doubled in size. With fur black as premium ink satin, utterly unblemished, crouching there. It carried an almost mythical aura of majesty. I couldn't help but reach out and stroke its silky fur. Its tail immediately started wagging cheerfully, like a little windmill, yet its head remained held high, putting on that Sundara air. As I looked at it, it suddenly occurred to me that I hadn't given it a name yet. "You're so pitch black, I'll just call you Little Black." The moment I said it, its happily wagging tail suddenly drooped with a thud, its jet black eyes brimmed with protest, clearly demanding a different name. "What's wrong with Little Black? If it weren't for you, the little food thief, I wouldn't be stuck here or forced into this life or death trial." Guiltily, it nuzzled into my arms, its fluffy ears rubbing vigorously against my chin. I was just about to laugh at its sudden change of expression, when the barrage of comments inconveniently refreshed. "Is this really the bloodthirsty demon lord?" "No doubt about it, his spirit's too weak now. The puppy forms in control. When his divine consciousness returns, that supporting female character who dared pull his ears and name him Little Black will be the first to die. He'll annihilate her completely." My hand paused mid-pet. I risked my life to protect him, and this is how he repays me. The next instant, I kicked Xiaohei away. His furry ears drooped helplessly as pitiful whimpers escaped his throat. Seeing I still ignored him, it nudged my hand with its nose until my palm rested on its head, then affectionately rubbed against me, its drooping tail perking up again, coiling around my wrist in gentle loops. As the stone door opened, I saw the senior sister waiting outside. She wore a light-colored robe, her gaze settling on the youth beside me. "Clara, thank you for what you did that day." Though puzzled, she first offered a solemn bow. "If it weren't for you, my spiritual consciousness would have likely been destroyed." I quickly waved my hands and clung to her arm coquettishly. "Oh come on, we're fellow disciples after all. If eldest senior sister really wants to thank me, how about giving me some guidance on my recent breakthrough? I'd love to become as powerful as you." The barrage comments are whining again, a weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken, harboring no good intentions. The supporting female just wants to milk the protagonist dry. While the kind-hearted lead remains clueless, look at the female lead. Is she smiling? Her perpetually frosty expression, cold as winter's touch, actually softened with a whisper of genuine warmth, faint but unmistakable. "All right," she agreed without hesitation. Then she added softly, "Still, Clara, this spirit beast has dubious origins and an unusual aura. You'd best be cautious around it." As expected of the senior disciple, no wonder that brilliant mind became the heroine. While I'm stuck playing the expendable side character, as I mused to myself, Xiaohe abruptly stepped forward, shielding me behind him with practiced subtlety. His transformation was profound. The elixir he'd consumed earlier had fully metabolized, catalyzing my breakthrough to the foundation establishment stage. Jet black hair was gathered at his nape by a jade hairpin, tall and graceful, with a frosty demeanor like snow-laden branches, only its tail seemed to have a mind of its own. Often brushing against my wrist with a ticklish touch, the sky rolled once more. Am I seeing things? The demon lord actually showed hostility toward the female lead. Wasn't Loren supposed to become the female lead's loyal lapdog? Why is there tension between them now? I was afraid these two might actually start fighting right in the sect. Stop. So I practically dragged Xiaohe away in a hurry. That bullet comment kept echoing in my mind the whole way. Once his divine consciousness returns, I'll be the first target. His useless master, a mighty demon lord, would never tolerate such humiliating memories. A chill ran down my spine. No way. I can't stake my entire life on him. Need a backup plan. Must contract a truly loyal spirit beast for protection. Decision made. I headed straight for the spirit beast sanctuary in the back mountains. The sanctuary housed numerous docile spirit beasts roaming freely. The moment these words were spoken, the entire hall erupted in uproar. I immediately fell for a fluffy, dopey-looking snow-white rabbit, but the moment I approached, it bolted like it had seen a ghost. One powerful kick of its hind legs and it vanished into thin air. Undeterred, I crept toward a napping dozy bird instead, yet 3 steps away, it let out a startled squawk and flapped away in panic, abandoning its nest entirely. Tried several times in a row, same result every time. What's wrong with me? Do I have the plague or something? The barrage comments went wild with laughter. LMAO, the young demon lord's handsome face is freezing into an ice block. These low-level spirit beasts are practically pissing themselves from his aura. Who'd dare get near you now? I whipped my head around to glare at the boy behind me. The icy glint in his eyes vanished instantly, melting back into that harmless, innocent look when our gazes met. I glared at him fiercely. Yet he seemed completely oblivious to my fury, instead taking a step closer, lowering his lashes as he murmured, "Elder sister, they all look down on you for your low cultivation level." He paused, raising those pitch-black eyes to gaze at me intently. "Only I would never reject you." His focused stare made me feel like his entire world. If not for seeing the barrage of comments, I might have actually fallen for this act of his. I took a step back, the light in his eyes dimmed instantly at my retreat. He timidly tugged at my sleeve, his beast ears drooping low. "Master, are you replacing me?" I cleared my throat, scrambling for a plausible excuse. "You eat like a horse. My measly spirit stones can't possibly keep up with you." He remained silent, just shot me a piercing look before turning away after a long pause. I thought he'd come around, yet within half an hour, Xiaohe returned with an armful of spirit herbs, ores, and even a few still warm demon cores. He eagerly pushed the treasures toward me, lifting his head with sparkling eyes to meet my gaze. "Take these and exchange them for spirit stones. I can support myself. You don't need to worry about providing for me." I was still dazed when he suddenly grabbed my right hand, then he bit down, not too hard, not too gentle, on the fingertip scorched by the spirit contract sigil. It didn't hurt, but sent shivers of pleasure down my spine. But this hand, his dark eyes pinned me in place as he spoke with deliberate emphasis. "Since you've claimed me, it shall touch no one else but me." Then he lowered his head, soothing the bite mark with a gentle lick of his tongue, leaving behind a damp glisten. My heart skipped a beat, just as I was about to speak, when a barrage of comments suddenly flooded my mind. LMAO, does this side chick really think she's the female lead? Only the FL darling can tame this psycho demon lord. The demon lord gets off on toying with his prey, letting them believe they're special exceptions before personally slaughtering them when they least expect it. The nicer he treats this side character now, the more he's enjoying his twisted game, and the more brutal her eventual death will be. Her hand jerked back violently, my expression regained its composure. After much deliberation, my only lifeline is clinging to the senior sister's coattails. As long as the heroine doesn't turn dark, she'll become the future paragon of righteousness, a mere demon lord, annihilated with a flick of the wrist, so I switched into full-time, no-holds-barred clingy mode. I spent every day at the training ground that month, shadowing my senior sister to learn martial techniques. When she went to the library to study ancient texts, I'd plop down on a stool beside her, pretending to read while actually dozing off. She went herb gathering in the back hills. I followed close behind, swatting away those pesky mosquitoes for her. Gradually, our eldest martial sister began smiling more often. She'd even let me doze off leaning against her. She'd gently tap my head with her scabbard whenever I zoned out, and always shared the finest elixir she crafted with me, but most importantly, the lifeless emptiness in her eyes. That utter desolation of being abandoned by the world was gone. Seeing no signs of her turning dark, I finally breathed a long sigh of relief. The only side effect was being dog-tired every single day. It wasn't until late at night that I dragged my exhausted body back to my room. I collapsed into bed without even bothering to take off my outerwear. Every time I wake up, there are always these tiny red dots on my neck. I just assumed it was from the mountain bugs and didn't think much of it. Tonight I was sleeping soundly, when suddenly I felt a sharp, needle-like pain near my collarbone. My eyes fluttered open in a daze. An impossibly handsome face was hovering inches from mine, locks of hair cascaded down, framing his striking high cheekbones. I thought this must be some absurd dream. She immediately pushed away the heavy, absurdly handsome body pillow she'd been clinging to. Xiaohei rolled across the bed, visibly stunned. The next second, the entire silk comforter got yanked to his side. A muffled voice seeped through the blankets. Thick with grievance, "You always used to cuddle me when we slept," I sighed, watching Xiaohei turn his back to me in a huff, unable to resist retorting. "I was just using you as a heating pad. Besides, it was only those 3 days in the frost cavern." He squirmed under the blanket, his voice laced with menace. "I don't care, mark my words, starting today, I'll be stealing the covers from you every single night." A chilly gust sent goosebumps crawling down my skin. Then I saw his tightly cocooned blanket, and realized with dismay that I stood no chance against him, left with no choice but to grit my teeth and surrender. "I can share half the blanket with you, but you have to change back. Return to your fluffy beast form." Another chill ran through me, making me shiver. "Screw it, I can't take this anymore." I lunged forward and wrapped my arms around the warm cocoon from behind, trying to tug a bit of the blanket away from him. His back tensed for a moment, but he didn't revert. He even leaned back further, nestling more comfortably into my embrace. With barely contained laughter, a muffled escaped from under the covers. The door creaked open with a long, drawn-out squeak. The senior sister's ears turned crimson instantly as she turned her face away. "Junior sister, the secret realm has opened. It's urgent. That's why I didn't knock." In her line of sight, I was tangled in the same blanket with a disheveled, handsome youth in an extremely intimate position. I immediately sprang up from the bed, trying to change the subject. "Don't worry, senior sister, I won't hold you back. Just point me where to strike." I quickly grabbed senior sister's arm and stepped into the teleportation array before she could react. The young man behind us remained sprawled on the bed, his robe disheveled, hair tousled, with his collar hanging wide open. His eyes burned holes into where my hand clasped senior sister's arm. His smile faded as a wisp of dark flame flickered at his fingertips, like suppressed murderous intent, vanishing with a mere flick. "What's so special about her? Can she even warm your bed?" Bullet comments flooding the screen. "Demon Lord, snap out of it. The female lead is your canon love interest." Seriously, getting jealous over some casual intimacy between the senior sister and supporting female. That's some next-level possessiveness. After the world spun violently, I barely managed to steady myself. The air reeked of sulfur mingled with the metallic tang of blood. "Senior sister," I called out tentatively, but only silence answered. Little black, only my own echo bounced through the vast cavern. Suddenly, thunderous snoring erupted from the cave's depths, making the entire ground tremble. I quickly ducked behind a massive stalactite. There, coiled in the deepest recesses, lay an obsidian-scaled dragon. Its entire body was armored with tough scales. Eyes tightly shut in peaceful slumber, a faint golden glow shimmered at the center of its coiled form. "Dragonheart herb." I bit my lower lip, palms growing damp, just as I hesitated whether to take the risk. Live comments flooded in. "That's the abyssal dragon under the demon lord's command." Claws half retracted, clearly feigning sleep. "Is the supporting female character finally getting written off? This trash would get swatted away if she dares approach. Didn't you see? The demon lord gave it orders to go easy when he entered earlier." "Wait, shouldn't he just let the prey die in the mystic realm? The spirit contract would dissolve automatically. No skin off his back. Is this free loot?" I crouched low and sprinted toward the slumbering demon dragon at breakneck speed, faster than I'd ever moved in my life. My heart pounded like war drums as my fingertips grazed the dragonheart herb. The instant my fingertips brushed against the dragonheart-shaped leaf, The scenery before me warped like rippling water, spinning violently as everything around shattered into fragments. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself standing at the crossroads of a dilapidated town. Just then, a commotion erupted from the street corner. "Kill it, damn pest," stealing food and daring to bite. A group of commoners in coarse linen clothes were gathered in a circle nearby, viciously kicking something on the ground. I crept closer, a scrawny black dog, battered and bloodied yet silent in defiance, desperately shielding half a steamed bun in its embrace. My heart lurched violently. Why does this scene feel hauntingly familiar? I tried to channel my spiritual energy, only to hit an invisible wall, my dantian stagnant like dead water. I'd become utterly powerless, just an ordinary mortal, as their attacks grew increasingly vicious. Without thinking, I shoved aside the burly men still kicking at it. They were startled by my sudden intervention, but seeing I was better dressed, they spat in disgust and slunk away cursing under their breath. The puppy cowered on the ground, thinking I'd come to steal its meal. I reached out and cradled it in my arms, its grimy body pressed against my chest, blood-stained and barely breathing, as if its next breath might be its last. "Hang in there," I whispered. Without thinking, my hand instinctively reached for the pouch at my waist, and to my surprise, my fingers brushed against 2 steaming meat buns. I tore off a small piece and held it to its lips. "Eat this and you'll feel better." The puppy trembled as it licked weakly, struggling in vain to open its blood-crusted eyes. A cold, low voice cut through the air with mocking amusement. "Why save some stray mutt that's nothing to you? That untimely kindness of yours made you miss the spiritual root test." My heart sank as I looked into the distance, only to find the magic array in the town square had already closed, its glow completely faded. It's over. Am I really going to be trapped in this dream for 3 whole years? The spiritual root test that occurs only once every 3 years. If I miss this one, it'll be ages before I get another chance to join a cultivation sect. I fell silent for a moment. In the end, I just let out a soft chuckle. Let it be. There'll be other chances. But it's life. It only gets one. Before the words faded, an arm suddenly snaked around my waist from behind. I instinctively struggled, but that overwhelming spiritual energy pinned me completely. "I refuse." He grabbed the puppy from my arms, and casually tossed it aside like trash. Furious, I jerked my head away to break free. But what met my eyes was a face bearing uncanny resemblance to Xiaohei. All traces of youthful innocence had faded, leaving only a face of breathtaking beauty and intimidating presence. His eyes were dark and fathomless as midnight, lips curved in an elusive smile as he studied me with keen interest. My mind was instantly thunderstruck. Only one thought kept circling: Loren is the true master of this dream. This is a nightmare of the mind. There are only 2 ways out. Either fulfill the dreamer's deepest desire, or kill them. Clearly, I'm no match for them. Then we'll have to take the other path. I forced an awkward smile, mustering all my obsequious charm. "What's your wish?" "I'd go through hell and high water for you." Loren looked down at me like I was some ridiculous clown. "You?" I clenched my teeth, my expression growing even more devout. He studied me with an enigmatic smile for a few seconds before suddenly saying, my shoulders slumped instantly with an audible whoosh. "No wishes at all. That's just a dead end." He seemed amused by my reaction, his fingers absently brushing through my wind-tousled hair, murmuring, "Though, now that I think about it, there actually is one." He lowered his head, his warm breath brushing past my ear as he murmured in a deep, mesmerizing voice, "My wish is to grant one of yours." I froze, scarcely believing what I'd heard. Yet I ventured to speak. My wish is, could you promise not to destroy the beast-taming sect in the future?" The smile on his face faded for a fleeting moment, his handsome brows furrowed slightly, as if reproaching me for making a wish that didn't concern him at all, but he quickly regained that careless demeanor of his. The moment his words faded, the streets beneath our feet, the surrounding houses, the distant sky, all began fracturing like shattered glass, before my consciousness completely slipped from this dreamscape. The arm around my waist suddenly tightened. "Wait for me," he said. Then, upon my lips, came the gentle brush of something cool and soft, a touch as light as a dragonfly's kiss, yet it made my heart skip a beat. Emerging from that hidden realm, I felt like I'd crossed lifetimes. The lingering coolness on my lips still remains, yet the spiritual bond between me and Little Black had been severed beyond doubt. I handed the dragon heart herb to the sect master, noticing my lack of a spirit companion. He offered me the pick of any top-tier mystical beast as compensation. I gazed upon those towering, awe-inspiring divine creatures. My mind kept wandering back to that little rascal who'd steal the blankets and nuzzle against me, the black furball who'd say I'm the only one who doesn't mind your flaws. In the end, I didn't choose any spirit beast at all. Seeing my prolonged melancholy, the senior sister took me down the mountain for training. It had been over a month since we descended the mountain, and that day found us resting at a tea house. Inside the tea house, a storyteller was animatedly recounting the most shocking events currently circulating in the martial world. That demon Lord Loreni is truly merciless. In just 1 month, 3 sects were completely annihilated overnight, not a single soul left alive. I listened with growing dread. After over a month of silence, the barrage comments finally came alive again. He's back. The demon sovereign has regained his full power and is settling scores with his old enemies. These 3 sects were the ones who ambushed him back then, leaving him mortally wounded. Truth be told, the demon sovereign fell into that ambush all because of a love affair. Indeed, according to historical records, when he learned his childhood savior was still alive, he sought her out to repay his debt of gratitude. He offered countless rare treasures just for a lead on his benefactor, only to be deceived by these so-called righteous sects into a prearranged death trap. In the end, he barely escaped with his soul shattered, and the final clue pointed toward the beast-taming sect. That's why he appeared there originally. After hearing those rumors, another bullet comment suddenly flashed through my mind. When the demon lord regains his power, he'll be begging for forgiveness in the worst way possible. My gaze instinctively fell upon the senior sister packing her belongings. She was the true prodigy, wronged and humiliated by the entire sect. Perhaps she was truly Lauren's only light all those years. The leniency in the mystic realm was simply because I teamed up with the senior sister. A strange heaviness settled in my chest. Throughout the subsequent trials, my focus kept drifting. That day, we unexpectedly rescued a pure white fox with just a hint of red at the tip of its tail from a hunter's trap. The little fox seemed remarkably intelligent. After recovering from its injuries, it started following me everywhere. It would nuzzle its head against my calf, its liquid eyes brimming with devotion and silent pleading. It wishes to form a spiritual bond with you. The senior sister discerned its intention. Watching the little fox, I nodded in agreement. Having a spirit companion would indeed aid my cultivation. Crouching down, I conjured a golden contract sigil at my fingertip, ready to imprint it on the fox's forehead, but before my finger could make contact, a chillingly familiar aura of absolute dominance suddenly enveloped the entire forest. The birds fell silent in an instant, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. A slender figure materialized soundlessly before me. Loren stood clad in an obsidian robe edged with gold thread, his jet black hair cascading loosely down his back. That same breathtakingly handsome face, only now those fathomless eyes burned with nothing but raging fury. Didn't I warn you? This hand, he seized my wrist. You're only allowed to pet me. I don't know where the sudden courage came from, but a wave of resentment surged through me. You're not even my spirit companion anymore. I glared up at him. Our spiritual pact was severed long ago. These rules mean nothing now. The moment I said it, I regretted it. I was facing none other than the demon lord who slaughtered 3 sects. Instinctively, I shut my eyes and braced for death. The expected pain never came. Instead, that barrage of comments that always opposed me went wild across the screen. OMG, 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 he's panicking. I knew it. What's happening? Someone explain. You fools, can't you see? The female supporting character was the demon lord's true savior all along. She's the white moonlight he's been searching for centuries. The greatest misunderstanding and regret in the original story. We've all been wrong. He recognized her immediately. On the very first night the female lead was confined, when he took human form to regulate her spiritual energy, he confirmed it through her aura. That's why he tested her in the dream realm, why he helped her obtain the Dragonheart herb, why he got jealous, why he came chasing after her. Loren, you idiot, hurry up and comfort her. Keep acting this harsh and you'll scare away the wife you've been searching for centuries. My eyes flew open in shock. My savior was me. The murderous aura around Loren had completely dissipated without me noticing. He looked at me with an unexpectedly vulnerable and lost expression in his eyes. Gently taking my hand, he enveloped it completely in his own. The spiritual pact that had just formed dissolved once more into his forehead. Now it is. So, would you like to try keeping only me for the rest of your life? The words sounded hauntingly familiar, as if I'd heard them 1,000 times before. Forgotten, dust-covered memories began flashing through the depths of my mind. When mortals embark on the path of immortality, their worldly memories are sealed by heavenly decree, fading gradually into oblivion. At this moment, with his words in the warmth of his palm, the seal shattered piece by piece. I remember now. I brought the battered puppy home, nursing it with tender care. The finest medicine and food, I cradled its tiny form by the fireplace, whispering over and over, "Little Black, get well soon, I'll take care of you forever, okay?" But within a few years, my father fell victim to treachery. Overnight, our entire estate was raided, leaving our family ruined and scattered. Overwhelmed by the devastation, I collapsed unconscious amid the blazing ruins. Despite its burns, it stubbornly clamped onto Eldershan's robe, who happened to be training in the mortal realm, refusing to let go until it dragged him to where I lay. It turns out none of this was ever fate's design, nor heaven's will from the beginning. I was the one who found him first, the one who first pledged my lifetime vow to him, and in his own way, he kept that promise sacred, pulling me back from the abyss of despair into the world of the living. Standing before me was someone who had shed all sharp edges and hostility, leaving only Lauren's anxious yet hopeful eyes fixed on me. I could no longer resist and threw myself into his arms. Smiling through welling tears, I whispered, "From mortal to immortal, all I want is to cherish you forever." Gazing at my reddened eyes, he tightened his arms forcefully, trapping me against his chest. His voice came out hoarse, yet couldn't conceal the faint laughter curling at its edges. "This won't just last one lifetime." He leaned close to my ear, his tongue barely grazing my earlobe before kissing away my tears. "You'll still have to take care of me in our next life, and the life after that. You'll still be mine alone." The end. Story 2. My supernatural ability evolution failed, and I regressed from a 7th level ability user to a 1st level one. My fiancé didn't disdain my low level abilities, but on our engagement day, a blinding light struck me, annihilating my ability core and leaving me completely powerless. Everyone mocked and looked down on me. Yet my fiancé held a grand wedding to marry me. And thus I transformed from a powerless person into the wife of the Eastern District Governor. Mom said with my average looks and lost abilities, marrying the district governor was a blessing accumulated over 3 lifetimes. Dad said I need to change my temperament, be more obedient to men, and speak sweetly so life can get better and better. My sister also stopped looking jealous and wished me happiness. 1. I married Merrick with a nervous heart, 10 years into the marriage. While delivering the improved vegetables to him, I overheard his conversation with Dr. Talon. Just like before, you continue channeling the holy light that appears when Felicity upgrades her abilities towards the Madam. Dr. Talon hesitated. Back then, you deliberately caused Lyra's ability evolution to fail, then made the holy light descend upon her, turning her into a cripple. If we keep channeling it further, I fear she won't even remain a cripple. Her meridians will rupture completely and she'll die, Merrick said quietly, if not for Lyra's unique physique being complementary to Felicity as fellow light bearers. How I wish I could bear the pain of the holy light for Felicity myself. As for Lyra, she's already become the district chief's wife. Isn't that enough for her? Their words plunged me into an icy abyss. Every time the holy light descended upon me over these 10 years, that bone-deep pain was actually endured on behalf of my sister Felicity. No wonder, all these years I've been trying to reawaken my supernatural abilities, yet couldn't even obtain an ability seed. Whenever Merrick saw me tormented by the holy light's agony, he'd hold me with reddened eyes and say, "Don't be afraid, Lyra, I'll always stay by your side." I thought that even without supernatural abilities, having a loving husband made me fortunate in this apocalyptic world. It turns out that my fall from a 7th level superhuman to a worthless cripple, scorned and looked down upon by the Eastern District, was all thanks to Merrick. After slaughtering countless zombies and painstakingly collecting cores to level up as a superhuman, I plummeted from the clouds into the mud, from powerhouse to invalid, just because I'm a light bearer. Am I supposed to endure the torment of holy light in Felicity's place? Suddenly, daylight erupts across the night, bright as noon. The holy light, it's descending upon us again. I frantically tried to evade, but the holy light seemed to lock onto me. No matter where I went, my soul trembled under the scorching intensity of its radiance. In desperation, I stumbled into Marik's usual study. Blood seeped from my entire body. This crippled form couldn't withstand the holy light scouring through my meridians. In my panic, I accidentally triggered some hidden mechanism. A secret compartment appeared in the study. As I cautiously approached to investigate, what I saw made my pupils constrict in shock. Inside were nothing but worn dresses, accessories of young girls, along with bedsheets and pillowcases. A large portrait hung on the wall. It was Felicity. There was also a silver ring, and I suddenly remembered the silver ring hanging around Felicity's neck. Clearly they were a pair. The ring had a luster sheen, showing that Merrick often touched it, his thoughts always lingering on Felicity. My tears fell unexpectedly. This was Marik's secret hideout for remembering Felicity, his most treasured place. After a long while, I let out a self-mocking laugh. "Merrick, the grand wedding you gave me was actually my grave. This was never a fairy tale romance. You just used me as a human shield to protect Felicity from the holy light. Since you're so ruthless, I no longer need to hold back." I wiped my tears and stepped out of the study. Merrick had just finished talking with Dr. Talon. Seeing me covered in bloodstains, he panicked. "Lyra, where were you?" The holy light descended again. I was so worried. I smiled faintly. "I won't die. Isn't this how abilities awaken?" Hearing my disheartened words, Merrick studied my expression carefully, his tone tinged with helplessness. "Lyra, please stop getting hurt, okay? I've told you. I don't care whether you're an ability user or an ordinary person, just having you by my side is enough." You're covered in injuries, let me help bandage them when we get back. Every time the holy light descends, he carefully bandages my wounds and instructs the kitchen to prepare more blood-nourishing ingredients for me. I used to think it was his thoughtfulness, but now I understand. How can a meat shield protect Felicity properly if they're not in good health? Disheartened, I was taken back to my room by him. After bandaging my wounds, he excused himself to attend to official business and left. I took out the space radio communicator and dialed my best friend's secret communication line. Nora, save me, I don't want to die. I sobbed as I told her about the meat shield situation. As expected, she flew into a rage and even threatened to bring the Western District troops to attack. I didn't want my issues to cause conflict between the two districts. So she told me that the Western District had just built a chaos base capable of evading the holy light, which I could borrow tonight. To celebrate the new achievements from the cultivation base, Merrick drank quite a lot. When Felicity sent me surveillance images, I was tidying up my belongings. After 10 years of marriage, I realized I owned very little. Back when I became a cripple, all my belongings were robbed clean. When I married him, I came with nothing but empty hands. All I've acquired over these years are just some clothes. I sat at the head of the bed, staring blankly as Merrick lowered his head to kiss her photo. Now these two didn't even bother to hide it anymore. In the middle of the night, he slipped under the covers carrying the chill of night, his hands groping under my clothes while his mouth sought my neck. I pressed down on his hands and turned away to avoid his kiss. Seemingly surprised by my reaction, he rasped with a hint of anger in his voice, "Lyra, what tantrum are you throwing now?" I shook my head and whispered, "The wounds hurt." Merrick froze. As if just remembering how I'd been covered in bloody marks from the holy light's torment today, he sighed, "I was too hasty, you should rest properly first." With that, he got up from beside me and went to another room. In the past, whenever he had needs, I would accommodate him even if the holy light's torment left my whole body in pain. No, I find it disgusting, even sharing the same space with him suffocates me. Early the next morning, he had someone deliver 10 exquisitely beautiful dresses to me, vibrant in color and dazzlingly bright. In the bleak world of the apocalypse, these were enough to drive any woman wild with desire. Merrick smiled at me. "Here, Lyra, these are gifts I specially prepared for you to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary." I frowned at these dresses. I never wear these flashy, bright dresses. Yet Merrick gives me these every year for our anniversary. In previous years, I thought since he's a man after all, remembering these occasions and preparing gifts already made him an excellent husband. Only now do I realize that these dresses were indeed carefully prepared by him, but the one who likes them is Felicity, too. He never remembers that I only prefer black and gray casual clothes that are easy to wash and replace. My heart was bitter, but my face showed immense joy. "Thank you, dear husband. I will strive hard to awaken the ability seed and become a 9th level ability master." Merrick chuckled softly. A 9th level ability user, easier said than done. Even I am only at the 7th level. "Lyra, you're still so naive." I smiled faintly too, lowered my head, and said nothing. "That's right, Merrick, the district head of the East District, is only a 7th level superhuman, yet he was willing to help Felicity reach the 9th level, time and again bestowing holy light upon me, tormenting my crippled body. Seeing my lack of enthusiasm, he thought I'd suffered terribly from the holy light yesterday. "What's wrong? Are your wounds hurting again? Let me apply some more medicine for you." I was about to refuse when a guard hurried over. "District Chief, it's bad." Miss Felicity suddenly fainted. "What?" Merrick sprang up abruptly, ready to leave with the guard. At the doorway, he seemed to realize his reaction was excessive. Regaining composure, he awkwardly said to me, "Lyra, don't misunderstand. I only paid attention to your family's affairs because of you." A mocking smile curled at my lips. "If my sister fainted, our parents will take care of her. As an outsider, you're overstepping your bounds." "How could you say that?" he declared righteously. "Felicity isn't an outsider, she's your own sister. Moreover, as the Eastern District Administrator, it's my duty to care for every member of the base." Without waiting for my response, he hurried off. Such a display of noble righteousness. Had I not known the truth, I might have thought him responsible and dependable. No, it makes my past admiration for him seem like a complete joke. Before Felicity's guard left, he snorted coldly at me, as if mocking my overestimation of myself for daring to obstruct the district head's concern for Miss Felicity. I tore off the bandage on my hand like self-harm, revealing yesterday's gruesome wound now bloody and mangled again. As if feeling no pain at all, I sat there listlessly until dusk when Marek's guard swaggered and arrogantly, "Madam, the district head sent me to inform you that Miss Felicity's condition is unstable. He needs to provide round-the-clock care and won't be returning tonight." Without waiting for my response, he left haughtily, muttering as he walked, "I truly don't understand what the district head sees in this useless woman. She's worlds apart from Miss Felicity." I didn't pursue the matter. but for these 10 years I've endured their disdainful looks, all thinking I was unworthy to be the district head's wife. I thought to myself that indeed I wasn't worthy, but rather, it was Merrick who wasn't worthy of me. All these years, he trampled on my sincerity and played me like a fool. This debt must be repaid in blood. It wasn't until noon the next day that Merrick returned, looking utterly exhausted. Seeing that I didn't approach him with concern as usual, he thought I was still angry about yesterday's incident and said helplessly, "Lyra, I'm really exhausted. You need to understand me. You don't have any special abilities, and by caring for Felicity, I'm setting an example for you. Don't be ungrateful." I looked at his hypocritical act and laughed in disgust. Seeing me laugh, he thought I had relented and softened his tone. "Has your injury improved? You must have been bored staying at home these past few days, right?" "How could I be? I've been busy saying goodbye to the past and to a scumbag." Seeing that I didn't respond, he said somewhat awkwardly, "I was afraid you'd be bored alone at home. Felicity, she said she missed you, so I took the liberty of bringing her back. You don't mind, do you?" I curled my fingers and said softly, "I don't mind. But what if I did?" After all, he was informing me, not consulting me. Soon, Felicity entered the villa. The moment she stepped in, she affectionately took my hand. "Little sister, it's been so long since we last met. I've missed you terribly." The delicate beauty pouted and spoke sweet words. No wonder Merrick was utterly enchanted. Merrick gazed at Felicity with tender affection, making it seem to outsiders as though he had brought his girlfriend home. I also put on a happy expression. Seeing how well we got along, Merrick went to freshen up. "Felicity is my biological sister. She's beautiful and was our parents' favorite before the apocalypse. Compared to her charm and sweet talk, I was dull and taciturn, never winning their affection. After the apocalypse, bold and meticulous, I was the first to awaken supernatural abilities. Daring and relentless, I directly advanced to level 7 powers, becoming my parents' new pride. Watching me transform from an ugly duckling into someone others look up to, she grew increasingly resentful, believing I stole her spotlight. As soon as the person left, Felicity's expression changed. Looking at my body covered in wounds, she smirked. "What? Not welcoming my visit? I came specifically to thank you. After all, you endured 10 years of holy light on my behalf." I clenched my fists, staring at her expressionlessly. She raised an eyebrow. "Don't believe me. Yesterday I happened to be breaking through to the 5th level of supernatural abilities, hence the holy light descended upon you. So, how was the taste of holy light? Quite intoxicating, wasn't it?" She looked at me with a smile, her eyes full of mockery and disdain. Although I had long known that Merrick used me as Felicity's meat shield for advancement, making me endure the torment of holy light again and again, hearing it from her lips filled me with indescribable humiliation. I felt sorrow that Merrick didn't value me, and hated my current inability to resist. My face turned pale as I bit my lip hard, refusing to respond to her. Felicity admired the pained expression on my face, then her eyes sparkled mischievously. "Oh, I forgot to mention, all these years you've been trying to reawaken your powers but couldn't succeed. That's because, Merrick, you've been drinking inhibitors. That way you could never regain your powers, leaving you no choice but to obediently endure the holy light for me again and again." Felicity laughed wildly and unrestrained, completely fearless in her arrogance. I trembled in shock, my eyes turning red as I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. So it was him who suppressed my ability seed, preventing me from awakening my powers, all just to make me endure the torment of holy light in place of his beloved. I'm filled with hatred, hating my current powerless state. All I could do was grit my teeth, hold back tears, and resist lunging at Felicity. Now the only way is to awaken my abilities as soon as possible and become a 9th-level powerhouse to break free from his shackles. Felicity glared at me viciously. "Lyra, before the apocalypse, I was clearly the one who basked in the spotlight, receiving everyone's favoritism. Who would have thought that after the apocalypse, you'd get lucky and actually become a level 7 superhuman? And now Mom and Dad revolve around you. Fortunately, heaven has eyes. I met Merrick. It was his brilliant idea for you to fail your superhuman evolution and become useless. Even the holy light of my advancement was redirected onto you through his schemes." The corners of her lips curled up, her eyes brimming with madness. "How about that? Didn't see it coming, did you? Even marrying you was my idea. After all, what's more thrilling than betrayal by a loved one?" Felicity's words nearly choked me. I never imagined that the wedding I once thought was beautiful was also part of someone else's scheme. My body trembling, I stepped forward, wanting to slap her hard across the face. "Why does she have to be so cruel to me? We're supposed to be the closest of sisters." I burst into uncontrollable sobs. She had so many people loving her, even without supernatural abilities. She could still drive Merrick wild with passion. As for me, I could only desperately fight monsters and level up in this apocalyptic world to avoid death. Never did I expect that after barely reaching level 7 powers, she'd ruthlessly try to kill me. Just as my palm was about to touch Felicity's cheek, Merrick appeared. He grabbed my wrist with anger flashing across his face. "Lyra, how could you raise your hand against your own sister? You're utterly vicious," tears streaming down. I weakly shook my head. "That's not true." "Enough, Lyra. I don't want to hear any more of your excuses. Being the district chief's wife doesn't give you the right to bully others." Merrick held Felicity in his arms, his eyes filled with disgust towards me. "I don't know which of my words offended you, sister. I apologize and only hope you won't be angry. I'll never dare again. Please don't hit me, woo-woo." Felicity leaned against Marik's chest, her eyes reddened, her voice trembling with fear. This pitiful sight made Marik's heart ache terribly. He immediately ordered, "Guards, lock Lyra in the solitary confinement cell, no food or water, let her reflect thoroughly on her actions." The solitary confinement cell was specially established by Merrick to punish East District residents who abused their supernatural abilities to bully civilians. It was pitch dark inside, utterly silent, often driving those with abilities to madness. I couldn't believe my eyes as I looked at him, stepping back in panic. I never expected he would lock me in the confinement room. He avoided my gaze and left with Felicity in his arms. I never thought he could be so heartless. With a bitter smile, I thought, perhaps it's for the best. On the very night I was locked in the confinement room, the people Nora sent to fetch me arrived. The visitor was a female dark-clothed superhuman who released me from the confinement cell in my wretched state. Just before leaving, I glanced back at the confinement cell and asked, "Can we place a charred female skeleton here?" In the study's secret chamber, Merrick held Felicity close. "Merrick, won't your sister resent me? After all, she is your lawfully wedded wife." Felicity whispered with faint guilt on her face. "Don't mention her. She nearly harmed you," Merrick replied with restrained anger, his fingers tenderly caressing Felicity's delicate face. Upon hearing this, Felicity gazed at him with a bashful expression. "You're still the one who cares for me most." As she spoke, she wrapped her arms around his neck, and the two drew closer until their lips met in a kiss. On the third day, with the countless energy cores provided by Merrick, Felicity attempted to break through to the 5th level of her abilities once again. Watching the holy light descend once more, Marik's expression became somewhat dazed. Lyra had also been confined in the detention room for 3 days. Surely she must have realized her mistake by now. If she's willing to admit her fault obediently, she could be released today. At that moment, the guard suddenly burst in. "Chief, something terrible has happened." Merrick frowned. "What's all this fuss about? If you disturb Felicity's advancement, I'll skin you alive." Scolded by Merrick, the guard trembled with fear, hesitating to speak. "No, Chief, it's about the lady." Merrick grew impatient. "What about Lyra now? Is she crying and making a scene in the confinement room again? Tell her she won't come out until she's properly reflected on her actions." The lady was struck into a charred corpse by the holy light. The guard's voice cracked. Trembling with fear, Merrick froze momentarily, his eyes filled with confusion. "Impossible. She's endured the holy light so many times without issue. How could this time?" The guard dared not conceal the truth. When Miss Felicity was attempting to break through to the 5th level, the holy light descended as usual. In the past, the lady would be tormented in agony, but today I heard no sound. When I opened the door, I saw the lady had been directly struck into a charred corpse by the holy light. Merrick couldn't believe it. He rushed to the secret chamber in panic, staring in shock at the blackened skeleton on the floor, his fingers trembling uncontrollably. Could it be that Lyra truly couldn't endure the torment of the holy light, burning from her meridians into a charred corpse? A fear Merrick had never known before arose in his heart. No, impossible. Lyra has survived for 10 years. How could she be obliterated by the holy light this time? Merrick muttered to himself, his trembling hands afraid to touch the remains. Dr. Talon rushed over upon hearing the news. Gazing at the scene, he sighed and said, "I warned you, she was already broken." Channeling the holy light again would shatter her meridians and leave nothing but ashes. Merrick completely ignored Dr. Talon's words. Lost in his own thoughts, he suddenly stood up and walked toward the villa. I wasn't in my usual bedroom, nor the kitchen. In fact, I was nowhere to be found in the entire villa. He sat numbly in the room, staring at the empty villa, as a sense of panic spread through his limbs. At that moment, Felicity successfully upgraded her ability to level 5. She ran over with overwhelming joy, her face beaming. "Merrick, that's fantastic. I successfully advanced. Let's celebrate properly." She held Marik's hand, intimately acting coquettishly. Merrick glared at Felicity with a sinister gaze. Felicity had succeeded in advancing, while Lyra had become a charred corpse. Felicity completely failed to notice Marik's unusual demeanor. Still immersed in the joy of her successful advancement, cheerfully talking about celebration plans, Marik's face was gloomy. His entire aura subdued, radiating an indescribable melancholy. He used to adore Felicity's lively and adorable nature, but today it felt exceptionally grating. After a long silence, seeing Merrick unresponsive, Felicity finally stopped. "Merrick, what's wrong? Did Lyra argue with you again because of my visit? She's so inconsiderate. Let me talk to her," Felicity said softly. He had always agreed with Felicity's words, but now they felt unbearably harsh. "Shut up, she's not yours to lecture." Merrick shouted at Felicity, his eyes red with anger. Felicity's eyes instantly reddened as she bit her lip. "Merrick, you're scolding me. You're actually scolding me for Lyra's sake. I'm going to find her and see what kind of spell she's cast on you," Felicity declared, heading straight for the detention room. Merrick looked at her coldly. "Stop making a scene. Go back first. I have important matters to attend to." Suppressing the panic in his heart, he had no patience for Felicity. His mind was set on thoroughly searching the base. Lyra couldn't be dead. She couldn't have left him like this. After speaking, Merrick left directly, for Felicity was left fuming on the spot, unable to understand why Merrick's attitude had changed so quickly. Just yesterday, he had been intimate with her and scornful of Lyra. Soon, she learned from the guards that Lyra had actually died. A look of joy appeared on her face. It was for the best that she had died. Now she could openly be with Merrick and become the district chief's wife. Merrick had no idea about Felicity's schemes. He was gathering his subordinates to conduct a thorough investigation of the Eastern District, convinced that I wasn't dead, perhaps just hiding out of spite. Report to the district chief. No anomalies detected at the East Gate. Report to the district chief. No suspicious individuals found at the West Gate. Rep. As more and more people reported back, Merrick grew increasingly flustered. After 3 rounds of questioning without giving up, it wasn't until Dr. Talon arrived that he said, "District Chief, stop wasting your efforts. Lyra is already dead. It's better to lay her remains to rest as soon as possible." Dr. Talon couldn't understand. If Merrick cared so much about Lyra, why did he insist on channeling Felicity's holy light onto her? He knew full well that the holy light had tormented Lyra to the point of being a wreck, yet he still refused to stop. Now that she was dead, he acted as if his heart was broken. Is this what Yin love is like, or has he grown too old to understand the world anymore? "How dare you claim those remains belong to Lyra?" Merrick's eyes were bloodshot as he refused to accept Lyra's death. "That's not Lyra. I know every inch of her body. How could those hideous bones possibly be hers?" the guard stammered. But only the lady was locked in the confinement cell, and holy light descended at that moment. If it wasn't her, who else could it be? She loved me more than anything. How could she leave this world without me? "Stop spouting nonsense." Though Merrick vehemently denied the guard's words, uncertainty gnawed at his heart. It's been fine for 10 years. Why couldn't she withstand the holy light this time? Could it be because of the confinement room? Indeed, she's always been terrified of the dark. Normally she needs me by her side to sleep peacefully. The pitch-black confinement room must have terrified her. The more Merrick thought about it, the more frightened he became. He couldn't bear the thought that she might have perished because of the punishment he inflicted. He returned to the villa in despair, where silence reigned. In the past, I was always bustling about for him, and a light would always be on at home. Now, there was only darkness. Merrick refused to give up and checked the villa's surveillance footage, trying to find traces of me in past videos, but he accidentally came across the video of Felicity deliberately provoking me that day. He saw the look of disbelief on my face, my fragile and unsteady appearance, watching Felicity recount word by word how he step by step turned me from a 7th-level superhuman into a useless waste, then into a meat shield. He saw himself indiscriminately slandering my words with such ruthlessness, even unjustly locking me in solitary confinement. How heartbroken and disappointed I must have been at that time. Merrick stared blankly at the video, finally understanding why I couldn't withstand the holy light this time. "Nothing is more sorrowful than a dead heart. Lyra, are you abandoning me?" Merrick whimpered in despair, completely shattered. "I've finally arrived in the West District, seeing my haggard face and broken body." Nora initially wanted to mock me for marrying a hammer, but ended up holding me tightly and crying her heart out in pity. "Lyra, you blind fool, marrying someone has left you half dead. Serves you right to stay single forever." Nora was a girl with a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Back in the apocalypse, we fought side by side as fellow level 7 ability users. She became the deputy chief of the Western District, while I ended up a cripple. Laughing through tears, I hugged her back. "I missed you." That single sentence made Nora blush furiously. She could only curse me for being lovesick while taking me into the Chaos Base to awaken my abilities and level up again. Nora successfully helped me awaken my ability seed and provided me with countless crystal cores for upgrades. Touched in my heart, I vowed to become a 9th-level powerhouse as soon as possible to help her become the supreme commander of Greater China, under Nora's protection. I immersed myself in cultivating and upgrading my abilities at the Chaos base. She even captured zombies from outside for my combat practice and arranged other ability users to spar with me, making my advancement exceptionally smooth. In 10 years, I went from being a cripple to becoming a level 7 superhuman again, transforming from a light ability user into a Chaos wielder, simultaneously possessing both light and dark abilities. The day I successfully emerged from the Chaos base, I let out a deep sigh of relief. Lyra, am finally no longer that worthless cripple who endured humiliation. Felicity and Merrick, that despicable couple, had better prepare themselves. Nora is now the district chief of the Western District. She joyfully grabbed my hand and said, "Wonderful, Lyra, you've finally regained your abilities." I gave her a faint smile. Yes, but it's not enough. After 10 years, Merrick has probably already become a 9th level powerhouse, and Felicity, under his support, is likely a 7th level superhuman like me by now. Deep down, I still feel resentful, letting that despicable couple live freely for another 10 years. Well, you guessed wrong. Come, let me tell you what's happened these past 10 years. Nora eagerly pulled me aside with a gossipy expression and began recounting. It turned out that when I faked my death and escaped from the confinement cell back then, Merrick panicked. He conducted a thorough investigation across the entire Eastern District for half a month but found nothing. The day Merrick learned from surveillance about Felicity's malicious provocation, he wished he could strangle her. Felicity claimed to be carrying Merrick's child, which spared her life. Though Merrick loathed her intensely, he ultimately imprisoned her, intending to execute her only after she gave birth. 8 months later, Felicity did give birth to a child. But the baby was entirely pitch black with curly hair, blonde locks, and blue eyes. Merrick took one look and ordered the child to be taken away. Those who had been congratulating the district head on his precious son were left wishing they could vanish on the spot. Felicity thought she could gain status through her child and become the district chief's wife, but instead, she only made Merrick despise her even more. He directly stripped her of her 5th level abilities and threw her into the water dungeon, where she suffered day and night, submerged in filth with snakes and rats. All these years, Merrick has been consumed by guilt and remorse over your death. He's been in a daze, neglecting the management of the base, and his ability level has stagnated. The entire Eastern District is now in complete chaos. Hearing all this, I felt shocked inside, but my face remained calm. Nora expected me to clap and cheer in excitement, but she was surprised by my calm reaction. What? Do you feel sorry for Merrick? After you left, he became like a walking corpse. Everyone says he loved you deeply, that he's a devoted man. I replied coldly and heartlessly. Why should I care? Caring for a man brings a lifetime of misfortune. He reduced me from a 7th level superhuman to a cripple for Felicity's sake, then made me endure 10 years of holy light for nothing. If this is what you call deep affection, it's utterly laughable. I'm going to collect the first debt now. Felicity, do you still remember your little sister? 5. Nora's eyes lit up immediately when she saw I was going to find Felicity. Take me with you. I was utterly exasperated. I'd have to be crazy to bring her along to cause trouble in the East District. Arriving at the sunless dungeon in the East District, the stench made me involuntarily wrinkle my nose. Felicity's entire lower body was submerged in filthy water, so murky you couldn't even discern its color. Disheveled and filthy, she was chained to the central pillar, muttering incoherently like a madwoman. Felicity, long time no see. My low voice echoed through the dungeon. Felicity's murmuring abruptly ceased as she jerked her head up, staring at the figure outside the cell with disbelief. Who's there? The voice felt hauntingly familiar. But that person had clearly died 10 years ago. How could they possibly be here now? Indeed, it's me, dear sister, I replied with a mocking curl of my lips. Her eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape, unable to believe that I had truly returned from the dead and appeared here. It's you, you're Lyra, you're not dead. It's you who ruined me, you bitch. Why didn't the holy light strike you down? She struggled forward in agitation but was restrained by chains, unable to move. I looked at her coldly. I ruined you. Have you forgotten how I became a cripple and endured 10 years of holy light punishment in your stead? That's what you deserve. I was always prettier than you, so I should naturally have a better life. Felicity's face twisted with rage as she glared at me. Oh, really? Then why is the once peerlessly elegant you now rotting in this sunless gutter? Didn't you boast about how much Merrick doted on you? How could he bear to let you end up like this? TSK. Perhaps provoked by my words, Felicity began hurling abusive language at me without restraint. You dare come laugh at me, you worthless trash. Can't even keep your man under control. With just a crook of my finger, he obediently crippled your powers for me. When I said I was delicate, he willingly channeled the holy light to me instead. Ha, you pathetic whore, unwanted wretch. Recalling those past events that once brought me unbearable grief now stirs not a single ripple in my heart. Worthless trash. Ha. I'll use you for practice today. As I spoke, I raised my right hand and pointed toward Felicity's left side. Light of darkness, go. A black hole suddenly appeared beside her, growing larger and larger, emanating a terrifying dark aura that filled Felicity with dread. When did you regain your supernatural powers? This aura, it's dark energy, you've mutated. Felicity never expected that I had recovered my powers, let alone possess such terrifying and formidable abilities. She trembled in fear, her whole body shaking uncontrollably, muttering incessantly, "Stop, what are you doing? I'm your own sister." I couldn't help but think that when she struck at me, she never considered I was her own sister. Soon, the dark light slowly enveloped her, her entire body racked with continuous agonized screams. "Stop." Just as Felicity was about to be swallowed by darkness, Merrick appeared. Merrick hurled a lightning strike at me, and I swiftly dodged. Forcing the dark light to withdraw, he arrived just in time to save Felicity. After rescuing Felicity, he finally looked up to see who dared to break into his Eastern District's water prison. That single glance nearly made his soul flee. It was the very person he had been dreaming of day and night. "Lyra, you're alive." Overjoyed, he rushed forward to embrace me. I shot him a disgusted look, then swung my light scythe between us, splitting the floor into two clearly divided halves. Merrick was shocked by my ability. Your powers have returned," I sneered. "What? Disappointed? Thought I was still that useless person you could bully." Merrick's expression changed drastically as he hurriedly explained. "No, Lyra, 6, don't say my name with your mouth. It disgusts me." I looked at them coldly, silently calculating the probability of killing them today. Merrick clutched his chest, staggering back with a deeply wounded expression. "Lyra, you hate me. About what happened back then?" "I can explain." Merrick, kill her now. She just tried to murder me. Don't forget, I'm the one you love most." Felicity rasped hoarsely, attempting to sow discord between Merrick and me. "Shut up. The one I love most is Lyra. Who do you think you are?" Merrick shot Felicity an icy glare, desperate to explain himself lest I misunderstand. His explanations meant nothing. I had no interest in his excuses. Today, Felicity's wretched life would be mine to take. I continuously used my powers on Felicity, but Merrick instinctively counterattacked. Seeing this, Felicity gloated. "See, Merrick still cares about me. Lyra, you'll never measure up to me in this lifetime. Even my husband protects me." Merrick froze at Felicity's words and immediately stopped. "Lyra, don't misunderstand. I'm not protecting her. This water prison isn't sturdy. If you want her dead, there's no need for such effort. I'll finish her off right now." As he spoke, he drew a sharp dagger and advanced toward Felicity. Felicity's eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at Merrick. "No, Merrick, it's me, Felicity. Have you forgotten I even bore you a child?" Not mentioning the child was fine, but bringing up Merrick only made him despise her more. He lost Lyra because of her, and now she dared to cheat on him. "Shut up. It's all your fault for seducing me, making me lose Lyra for 10 years. You deserve to die." Enraged, he plunged the dagger into her chest. Felicity was powerless to fight back. She only felt a dull pain in her chest before her body grew cold, blood flowing uncontrollably. Staring blankly at Merrick, she wondered why the man who once cherished her could be so cruel. "Lyra, look, I have no feelings for her. Believe me, it's always been you that I love." Merrick forcefully pulled out the blood-stained dagger, disregarding Felicity's pleading gaze, and proudly displayed his determination to me as if presenting a treasure. I looked at him coldly. "When you loved her, you dragged me into the dirt. Now that you don't love her, you can mercilessly kill her. You've always been this selfish and hypocritical." He never cherishes what he obtains. He simply doesn't deserve true sincerity. I raised both hands, assuming an attacking stance. "Merrick, today we settle this once and for all." Merrick looked at me with a wounded expression. "Lyra, won't you forgive me? Where have you been these 10 years? I've missed you terribly." I ignored him and began activating my supernatural ability. Though we were both 7th level ability users, I possessed dual powers. At first, Merrick handled it with ease, even thinking I was just throwing a tantrum and playing around. It wasn't until I used Dark Radiance to devour one of his arms that he panicked in horror. "Lyra, I'm your husband. How could you be so cruel?" I let out a cold laugh. "It won't be for long." As I spoke, I continued my assault. Merrick, already injured, was even more outmatched. Seeing the ruthlessness of my attacks, he dared not let his guard down again and actually triggered the base's alarm signal. Soon, all the superhumans from the base arrived at the water prison. Seeing his subordinates, Merrick breathed a sigh of relief. "Lyra, I know you hold hatred in your heart. Consider this arm of mine as an apology. Stop this madness. Let's reconcile and return to how we were before." "All right," Merrick signaled his subordinates with his eyes. slowly closing in on me, attempting to surround and capture me. I swung the scythe of light, cutting off Merrick and his gang. Then, I opened a dark void in the wall behind me. Merrick, you can run today, but you can't hide forever. I will personally sever your head. With that, I vanished into the darkness. Merrick stared blankly at the spot where I disappeared, utterly heartbroken. Lyra, do you hate me this much? He swayed unsteadily before collapsing in a faint. The deputy director of the base was a newly promoted level 7 beauty with long curly hair, dressed in a black bodysuit. Seeing Merrick in such a state, she rushed forward and caught him in her arms. When Merrick woke up, Arden was by his bedside taking care of him. Lyra, district chief, you're awake. Arden looked at Merrick with joyful expression. Merrick's face turned cold. What are you doing here? Arden's smile faltered. You fainted and your arm was severely injured. I was worried. So I stayed to take care of you. Get out, Merrick said coldly and ruthlessly. Arden, feeling wronged, let her tears fall. Merrick, can't you just look at me? How am I worse than that Lyra? I'm younger than her, and my supernatural talents aren't bad either. Marry me, she said, leaning in to press against his chest. Merrick pushed her away abruptly. Shut up, Lyra is my wife. Who allowed you to compare yourself to her? What kind of thing are you? Get out of here. Arden, her eyes red, bit her lip tightly and stared at Merrick unwillingly. Seeing that he remained unmoved, she had no choice but to retreat. Guards, conduct a district-wide search for Lyra. Kill her on sight, Arden commanded furiously, unaware of the commotion in the room. The black hole directly transported me back to the Western District. Learning only Felicity had died, Nora still felt some regret. Lyra, we'll be launching an attack on the Eastern District soon. What? Nora, I can handle this myself without involving the two districts, I said in a low voice, not wanting to drag Nora into standing up for me. Nora's expression darkened. I'm afraid that's not possible. This time it's not about you. The East District has a traitor who's trying to ally with the North District to annex the Southwest Districts and dominate the entire region. I can't just sit back and do nothing. Unlike the East District, which only takes in strong superhumans and humans, the West District is mostly women and children. If it were annexed by the East District, one can only imagine how tragic their fate would be. Nora, I'll help you. I looked at her with determination in my eyes. Merrick, that deranged man, doesn't deserve to be the ruler of the entire region. On the day the Western District's army besieged the city, Merrick dragged his body, missing an arm, to the city walls, looking at me with a helpless bitter smile. Lyra, I know you despise me deeply, but how can you justify provoking war between the districts and causing civilian casualties with your recklessness? What nonsense. It was clearly your Eastern District conspiring with the Northern District trying to annex our Southwest territories. Merrick, you truly remain consistent in distorting truth and confusing right with wrong. Nora raised her banner and pointed her sword at Merrick, shouting sternly. Merrick's expression turned serious. Our Eastern District has never contacted the Northern District, so how could there be any talk of annexation? Nora, don't you dare pin this accusation on us. I knew you'd try to deny it. Why don't you ask your deputy district head first? Nora said with a mocking expression, hearing Nora's words. Arden turned pale and felt utterly panicked inside. Seeing her like this, Merrick understood everything immediately, yet, considering she was still his subordinate, he couldn't help but feel inclined to shield her somewhat. He wanted to explain to Nora that this was a misunderstanding, that the Eastern District would never do such a thing, but Nora didn't give him a chance to explain and immediately ordered the attack on the city. Merrick hastily led the Eastern District's supernaturals into battle. He tried to surround Nora with Arden, but I blocked their path with a dark light, shouting, Your opponent is me. 7. Lyra, I have no intention of fighting you. Quickly persuade Nora to retreat and avoid damaging the harmony between our districts. Merrick struggled to defend against my attacks. Enough talk. Today, I will take your wretched life. My attacks grew even fiercer, and just then, Merrick pulled off a surprising move. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes filled with despair. Lyra, I know you hate me for sealing your powers back then, but I just wanted to keep you by my side. Everything I did was because I loved you too much. It was Felicity who said you're a light bearer, that more exposure to the holy light would benefit your health. That's why I agreed to channel the holy light into you. Please believe me, none of this was my choice. I was deceived by her too. I let out a cold laugh. You called destroying me an act of love? What kind of twisted logic is this? Merrick looked pained. I was wrong to think this way. I believed it would make you rely only on me, never able to leave me. Seeing my cold expression, he wailed. What will it take for you to forgive me, unless you die? He picked up a long sword and placed it against his neck. Lyra, I know you're tough on the outside but soft inside. Tell Nora to withdraw the troops, or I'll slit my throat right before your eyes. Nora was stunned to see him like this and turned to ask me with her eyes, "Is he having an episode?" A mocking smile curled at the corner of my lips. Where did he get the confidence to think I could be threatened? I quickly stepped forward, thinking I was trying to stop him from slitting his own throat. He immediately smirked. "I knew you couldn't bear to." Before he could finish, I gave him a forceful push. The long sword sliced through the blood vessels in his neck, sending blood spraying out and needlessly staining my entire face. He looked at me in disbelief, his hands trembling as he tried to cover the wound on his neck, his eyes wide and mouth agape as if trying to say something. "No, District Chief." Arden screamed in horror as he saw Marek drenched in blood, attempting to rush forward only to be incinerated by Nora's flames. Marek's eyes remained fixed on me until his last breath. I wiped the blood from my face and turned away expressionlessly. Marek, the prestigious Eastern District Governor, met his demise in the 23rd year of the apocalypse. Nora conquered the Eastern District, merging the Eastern and Western districts under her rule, swiftly surpassing the strength of the Northern and Southern districts. However, Nora had no desire to provoke conflict, leading to a tripartite balance of power in Greater China, coexisting harmoniously through the apocalypse. 8 years later, my supernatural abilities successfully broke through to the 9th level, making me the only dual-ability 9th level wielder in the entire district. No one dared to underestimate me again. In the apocalypse, I'm nobody's meat shield. Story 2. I had learned that a catastrophic heatwave was on its way, and just then, my husband decided to have an affair. He brought his pregnant mistress home, and together with his parents, they kicked me and my daughter out. He pushed me to the brink, but I was not going to let him get away with it. I kept the apocalypse news to myself, decisively filed for divorce, and disappeared. I wanted to see how this new family he had formed halfway would handle themselves when faced with life and death. In the office, I gazed out at the scorching sun with worry. The weather had been unusually hot lately. It was past 5 o'clock, yet the sun was as blistering as at midday. I sent a message to my husband, asking him to pick me up from work. The thought of taking the subway in this heat was unbearable. Just before leaving work, a message popped up on Instagram. "Poppy, the heat apocalypse is coming. Don't go out these days, stock up on supplies, and wait for my contact." It was from Polly, my best friend who worked at a research institute. She had been exploring deserts for the past 6 months and was not one to speak without evidence. She must have discovered something. My heart raced as I assured Polly I was okay and reminded her to stay safe. Then, I hurriedly left the office. Down in the lobby, Angelo's car was already waiting. I approached and tapped on the window, startling him. It took him a moment to roll down the glass. "Wife, why are you off work so early?" I froze, unable to ignore Angelo's subtle movement of hiding his phone. If I wasn't mistaken, he was on Instagram. Who was he chatting with that he didn't want me to see? My instincts told me something was off. I had initially wanted to warn him about the heat wave, but I pushed that thought aside and observed Angelo's expressions throughout the ride. Except for a second of panic, he showed no other signs of distress, so I pretended as if nothing was amiss. That evening, once Angelo had fallen asleep, I grabbed his phone and unlocked it using his fingerprint. Opening Instagram, I immediately spotted an anomaly. Among the usual chats with colleagues, there was a cartoon avatar that stood out. I clicked on it and scrolled through the messages, which were filled with blatant flirtations. I had always respected Angelo's privacy and never checked his phone without his consent, so he hadn't bothered to delete any messages. Now, feeling a mix of sadness and anger, I was tempted to wake Angelo and slap him hard, but I couldn't. Things had escalated to this point, and I couldn't act rashly. I had to secure the best outcome for my daughter and myself. More importantly, with the looming heat apocalypse, our marriage's troubles were trivial in comparison. The priority was to find a way to survive. Clutching Angelo's phone, a dreadful thought crossed my mind. Why should I tell him about the apocalypse? He had betrayed me. Shouldn't he pay the price? The next morning, taking advantage of the cooler weather, I went to my parents' house. Both Angelo and I had demanding jobs, so my parents looked after our daughter most of the time. We only brought her home during our days off. As soon as I entered, my little daughter ran up and hugged my legs, her voice milky and sweet. "Mommy, you didn't visit me for 6 days. I'm mad at you." I gently rubbed her fluffy little head and softly apologized. "I'm sorry, Coco. Mommy has been very busy lately. How about I stay with you every day for a few days?" "Okay. But actually, I'm not mad at you, Mommy. I was just trying to scare you." Watching my daughter's understanding and well-behaved demeanor, I felt a mix of heartache and determination. A wave of bitterness surged in my heart. She was still so young. How could I let her face the reality that our family was about to fall apart? "Where's Daddy? Why isn't he coming?" "Daddy is working. He'll come to see you in a few days." My daughter was very dependent on Angelo, and I could only placate her and distract her with toys. It's been terribly hot lately, Poppy. I think you should bring Coco back with you. The air conditioner here is old and it's too much for the child. My mother muttered this as she busied herself in the kitchen. I quickly asked her to stop what she was doing and called my father over. Once they were seated, I showed them Polly's message about the impending disaster. At first, they thought I was joking, as no one had experienced such absurdity before, but seeing my serious expression, they finally took it seriously. What should we do now? My father asked, looking worried. I handed him a list with some essential supplies noted down, mainly pure water and some high-temperature resistant, non-perishable food. Dad, it's best to go shopping at night. We can't be sure these messages are 100% accurate, and don't talk about it outside. If someone asks, just say it's inconvenient to go out with Coco in this heat, so you're buying extra food. I've scheduled the installation of a new air conditioner for tomorrow. Call Mom ahead of time. Coco will stay here for now, and I'll move over after a while. These were just precautions I thought of on the spot, to truly prepare for the end of days. There was still much to be done. I explained various scenarios as thoroughly as possible, and my father quickly agreed. What about Angelo when you move here? My mom suddenly mentioned Angelo. I glanced at my daughter to make sure she couldn't hear us, then I revealed Angelo's affair. Upon hearing this, my father slammed the table and cursed loudly. That bastard, what did he promise at the time? My mother was also furious. Then why go back at all? Just let him fend for himself. I had considered this, but although Angelo had cheated, his intentions regarding our daughter were unclear. If he decided to fight for custody, things would get complicated, so until everything was perfectly safe for my daughter, I couldn't let him suspect anything was amiss. After reassuring my parents, I drove back home. The morning had been bearable, but now, at the peak of the sun's strength, a wave of heat hit me as soon as I stepped out of the building, and my skin almost immediately turned red. On the way back, a large section of the concrete road had buckled, and I had to take a detour to get home. Upon entering, I found Angelo hadn't gone to work and his parents were there too. As soon as Angelo saw me, he came up to complain. Honey, you took the car. How am I supposed to get to work? I changed my shoes without looking up. The car isn't just yours. I'll drive it when I want. My tone was harsh, and Angelo was momentarily stunned, just about to say something when his mother interrupted. How can you talk like that? Angelo is the boss. He needs the car for appearances. You're just a worker. Stop showing off. You shouldn't even touch the car in the future. She was always unreasonable. Previously, for Angelo's sake, I didn't argue with her, but now I had nothing to worry about. I bought this car. I'll drive it whenever I want. Who are you to dictate otherwise? Indeed, Angelo ran a company, but since starting the business, the losses had outweighed the gains, and I had mainly furnished the house and the car. She still thinks her son is a big boss. My words touched Angelo's fragile ego, and his face darkened. Do you talk to your elders like this? Have you no manners? Can a well-mannered person really handle his overbearing and abrasive mother? I retorted mercilessly. If you don't like the way I speak, then don't let her come. It's so hot. My parents can't stand staying in their hometown. What's wrong with me bringing them here to take care of them for a couple of days? I looked at him suspiciously. Since when was Angelo so filial? Although he always pretends, as his wife, I know him like the back of my hand. He says nice things, but he's actually really annoyed with his mother. It's a problem that could be solved with just an air conditioner, so why go through all the trouble of bringing them here and causing himself more problems? I don't believe his intentions were that good. Angelo kept making excuses, but his parents couldn't sit still any longer. His father hinted to Angelo with a look. Enough, she's going to find out sooner or later. It can't be hidden forever. Just tell your wife the truth. Exactly, she really thinks we can't function without her. His mother chimed in, not forgetting to take a dig at me. Angelo looked at me conflicted, unable to speak. Seeing this, his father slapped him on the back and spoke for him. Angelo has someone else on the side, and she's pregnant. You better make space, before the child is born. You guys should get the divorce sorted. Angelo hung his head, silently agreeing with his father's words. I glared at the three of them, unable to comprehend how they could say such shameless things with such ease. Angelo, are you even human? I clenched my fists, struggling to restrain myself from tearing his face apart. I'm sorry, Poppy, she's pregnant with my child. I can't let my child be born without a father. Angelo looked somewhat guilty, but his words were merciless. I couldn't hold back my anger anymore and slapped him hard across the face. How can you say that? Isn't Coco your child, too? Angelo's face turned red instantly, and his mother pushed me away fiercely, tenderly caressing his face. Do you have any shame? After 7 years of marriage, you only gave us a useless daughter. My son should have kicked you out long ago. I warn you, Jojo is carrying a boy. If you know what's good for you, you better leave on your own. Now I understood why his parents were so audacious. They finally had the grandson they had always dreamed of. They were so obsessed. It made me wonder if there was a throne in their family to inherit. Angelo, didn't you say that having just Coco in our lives was enough, and you never cared about having a boy or a girl? Our family has only had one son per generation. I can't let our lineage end with me. I looked at Angelo, who still appeared righteous, and memories flooded my mind. How could such a patriarchal and ignorant man have pretended for so many years? I had lost all hope in him and laid down my final terms. We can divorce, but since you cheated first, you must leave with nothing. That's impossible. Hardly had my words fallen when Angelo immediately refused, and his mother was relentless. Why should you? We paid the down payment for the house. What dream are you living in? That down payment was nothing compared to the full price of the house. I couldn't believe she had the nerve to bring it up. Either leave with nothing or we don't divorce, and your grandson will forever be an illegitimate child. With that, I turned and went back to my room, ignoring the curses from my mother-in-law behind me. I shut the door to my room and calmed myself down. I began preparing the necessary supplies. I didn't know how long the heat wave would last, and it was troublesome to go shopping with my parents by car. I contacted a wholesale market directly and had them deliver the supplies to our house. After racking my brains and scouring various online resources, I managed to compile a list and send it over. Mostly non-perishable dry food and vegetables, 200 pounds of flour, 200 pounds of rice, 200 pounds of millet. I purchased 50 kilograms each of potatoes and radishes, 100 kilograms of dried vegetables, 100 boxes of instant noodles, various instant hot pots, and compressed biscuits. Essentially, I bought at least 100 of everything they had in stock. Water was a priority, so I went ahead and bought 500 barrels of mineral water and another 100 boxes of various energy drinks. Coco is still young, and unlike adults who just need to feel full, she needs proper nutrition. I added 100 kilograms of beef and lamb, 200 cans of various meats, and 100 each of chickens, ducks, and geese. Considering the storage of all these items, I ordered 2 large freezers. I planned to clear out the unused furniture at my parents' place and use the living room to store supplies. Refrigeration requires power, which my dad has experience with. I messaged him, and soon received a reply. He managed to procure a diesel generator through his contacts and also bought some solar panels, planning to install them himself. I also bought a batch of medicines and various cleaning and personal hygiene products. After a busy day, I finally fell into a confused sleep as night fell. When I woke up, it was to the noisy commotion in the living room. Stepping out, I saw not only my in-laws but also an unfamiliar woman surrounded by a pile of fruits. Usually, my mother-in-law has a lot to say about such purchases, but now she seemed surprisingly generous. "Jojo, make sure to nourish yourself well for the baby's health," she said, carefully touching the woman's belly and giving her heartfelt advice. I immediately understood that this woman was Angelo's mistress. Shockingly, they had brought her into our home even though Angelo and I were not yet divorced. A surge of anger rose within me, and I stormed over, overturning the fruit table as I yelled, "Who allowed you to bring someone in here? Get out, all of you." The woman, clearly frightened by my outburst, shrank back towards my mother-in-law, whimpering "Mom." She wasn't even officially part of the family but was already acting overly familiar, which disgusted me more. Trembling with anger, I grabbed her and started dragging her out. My mother-in-law protected the woman like a hen defending her chicks. "You dare touch my grandson, I will fight you tooth and nail. This is my son's house, and I decide who comes in." I didn't care about her old bones. I pushed her aside and continued pulling the woman towards the door. Amid the woman's cries and my mother-in-law's scolding, the scene turned chaotic. My father-in-law took the opportunity to call Angelo, who soon arrived. As Angelo entered, he immediately pulled me away, standing protectively in front of the woman. "Poppy, have you caused enough trouble?" he demanded, his face marked with anger and his tone harsh as he defended the other woman. My rage was boiling over, my whole body trembling with fury. "Angelo, we're not even divorced yet. Have you no shame?" By now, our relationship had irreparably broken down, and any guilt Angelo might have had was gone. He laid it all out. "Jojo is carrying my child. It's too hot, and I can't leave her to fend for herself. I've decided, let's get a divorce." With those words, any lingering attachment I had for him vanished. I responded emotionlessly, "I said it before, you leave with nothing, and then we can divorce." "That's impossible. I made the down payment on the house, and we've been paying the mortgage together. Legally, the house should be mine, and even if you want to fight it in court, I would win." He spoke confidently, sure of his stance. It felt like I had rehearsed this scene 1,000 times in my mind. "What about Coco? I won't fight you for custody of Coco." I couldn't hold back anymore. I raised my hand and slapped him, yelling angrily, "So you just want to kick Coco and me out, in this scorching heat? Where do you expect us to go? It seems like you're trying to kill us." My forehead throbbed as I spoke, and my fear grew. Suddenly, I realized that anger had blinded me. My parents and daughter were still waiting for me to make arrangements, but I was caught up in a messy dispute with Angelo. The priority was to find a safe place to stay. I was so busy gathering supplies that my parents' small house couldn't possibly hold everything. Moreover, with people being unpredictable and disaster looming, having so many supplies would make us a target. The old iron door at my parents' house could be kicked open with one foot, only doubling our danger. That's when I realized my plan was full of holes. I can't take care of so many people. I just want Jojo's child to be born safely. Angelo looked at me coldly. I deflated, no longer arguing with him. I agreed to the divorce. I don't want the house, but I must have all the savings and the car. The house had just been paid off this year, and the total value of the savings and the car was less than $1 million. It was clear I was at a disadvantage. Angelo quickly agreed, and we drafted a divorce agreement on the spot. He suggested that we get it notarized at the Civil Affairs office the next day before transferring all the assets. To avoid further disputes, I agreed to his request. After signing the agreement, I drove to the suburbs overnight and rented a villa in the mountains. The temperature there was much cooler than in the city, and there was a mountain spring, making it an ideal spot to escape the summer heat. I rented it under the pretense of using it as a storage space, and the agent found me one with a basement, where I could safely store supplies. More importantly, the landlord was abroad and had entrusted all rental matters to the agency. I could move in immediately upon signing the contract. I signed for the house right away and received the keys as soon as the funds were transferred. I then contacted customer service at the wholesale market, gave them the villa's address, and paid double the delivery fee. They promised to start distributing supplies at dawn. After taking care of all this and returning to the city, it was already daylight. As agreed, I went to the Civil Affairs office. Angelo still had some affection for our daughter. I picked her up on the way, just in case he changed his mind, though I didn't want my daughter to witness our unpleasant situation. The urgency left me no choice. As expected, Angelo was reluctant until he saw Coco. Only then did he willingly hand over the 200,000 yuan. When we parted, Angelo was with his new love, who boasted in front of our child, "Honey, my parents have reserved a place at the restaurant. They said we should celebrate. Let's hurry." My daughter cried her heart out. Angelo still walked away without looking back. In a moment of oversight, she ran towards Angelo. She was fast, and just as she was about to reach him, probably fearing she might hurt Jojo, he pushed her away. Her little body fell onto the curb, and her knees immediately began to bleed. My heart ached as I picked her up, but Angelo's attention was solely on that woman. Coco wasn't even close to her, and I clenched my fists, staring at their retreating figures. I didn't want to take drastic measures, but they pushed me to it. I took my daughter home, then turned and headed to Angelo's house. After I dismantled all the removable parts from the air conditioner and refrigerator, the devices quickly ceased to function. I took all the drinking water from the house and opened the windows to let the heat pour in, turning the room into an oven-like environment for them to enjoy. Without stopping, I rushed home to pick up my parents and headed to the villa. They knew I hadn't slept all night and were very concerned for me. My dad offered to drive so that I could catch up on some sleep, and I drifted off feeling reassured. When I woke up, my dad had driven us to the building materials market. He bought various types of stones, concrete, steel bars, and other materials, saying that you can never predict people's intentions and we must ensure our safety. In addition to that, my dad also purchased a significant amount of fire-resistant and insulating materials, as well as everyday necessities like electrical wires, faucets, pipes, various small items, and repair tools. I had no knowledge or ability to use these things, but being with my dad made me feel much more secure. My dad reminded me, and I quickly ordered a few electric batons and self-defense tools online, requesting immediate home delivery. Upon arriving at the villa, my order had already been delivered and the workers were unloading it. I didn't dare reveal the basement, only instructing them to place the items in the yard. One of the workers, curious, asked, "Miss, with all these goods, when will you manage to sell them all? Aren't you worried they'll expire?" I had to make up an excuse. "I sell goods via live streaming, and all these items will be shipped out tomorrow." Nowadays, young people are really impressive, not like us who can only do physical labor. The man was sweating profusely from the heat but still managed to give me a thumbs up, making me feel quite guilty. After they finished, I paid him triple the carrying fee and added a generous tip. which he repeatedly tried to refuse, but I insisted he take it. Brother, it's too hot these days, and there have been many accidents in your line of work. Take a break at home before you go out again. I'm not a saint, I can't save everyone, but I do what I can. After the man left, I surveyed the surrounding area. This area was previously planned as a resort, so most people bought villas here with investment in mind, resulting in a low occupancy rate. This also facilitated our operations. And my parents and I quickly moved the items into the basement. Once we finished, the generators, solar panels, and building materials my dad had purchased also arrived. After setting everything up, it was already evening, and both my mom and I collapsed exhausted on the sofa. While my dad was still busy, he connected the electricity to the basement, powered up the freezer and air conditioner, and installed the solar panels. He also reinforced the windows and doors with steel bars and concrete. Looking at his handiwork, my dad was extremely pleased. At this point, everything was as secure as it could be. My mom and I contacted several relatives and friends, simply telling them we were ill from the heat and advising them to rest at home and avoid going out. We had done all we could, the rest was up to fate. 06. After staying here for a few days, the extreme heat fully erupted. Governments around the area announced work and school suspensions as roads in many places buckled, paralyzing city traffic. Fortunately, the water and electricity systems were still functioning, allowing people to hold up while staying indoors. Our family stayed in the basement, where my dad was busy chopping fillings and pickling vegetables. With limited space in the freezer, my mom was also busy organizing to prevent spoilage. Just then, a notification on my phone reminded me to update the system. That's when I remembered Coco. Our house is still equipped with surveillance cameras. After all the effort I've put in, how could I not personally witness the downfall of Angelo and his family? I eagerly turned on the surveillance to find that all 4 members of Angelo's family were in the living room. Jojo was lying on the sofa with a bowl of ice next to him. His mother-in-law was manually fanning him, directing all the cool air towards him while she herself was sweating profusely. Even so, Jojo was still not satisfied and complained to Angelo, "Angelo, have you found someone to fix the air conditioner yet? I'm dying from the heat. You can't even manage to fix an air conditioner. Being with you is truly suffering." Angelo, frustrated by the remarks, retorted, "Can you just be quiet? The repairman is swamped with orders. What can I do? Besides, is it really that hot? Why can everyone else tolerate it but you can't?" Upon hearing this, Jojo immediately became upset and burst into tears. "You promised to take care of me and the kids when you brought me here. Now you begrudge me even the comfort of air conditioning. I can't believe I'm carrying your son. If it's going to be like this, maybe I should just have an abortion." His mother-in-law was deeply stunned by these words and quickly tried to calm Jojo down. "You can't do that, Jojo. Angelo is just frustrated. Please calm down. It's not good for the baby." Then she turned to Angelo and ordered, "If we can't fix the air conditioner, go and borrow some ice from the neighbors." Quickly, with no choice left, Angelo called the neighbor. Although it was not the first time they had asked for help, the neighbor straightforwardly refused. "Brother Wine, my wife is pregnant. Please make an exception," Angelo begged humbly. "It's not that I don't want to help, but our fridge isn't big. We've been freezing ice for you repeatedly, and it's causing damage to our stuff. I really can't help." Unable to persuade him, Angelo gave up, but his mother suddenly snatched the phone. "Who are you trying to fool? If the freezer is full, can't you use the fridge? Do you think we're idiots?" Her usual belligerence angered the neighbor. "How can you speak like that? I am kindly lending stuff, and you still find fault. You city people are really stingy, making such a fuss over some ice. You're heartless. Your whole family might as well perish in this heat." Her eyes flickering, she suddenly had another idea. "Right, my daughter-in-law used your ice and now she's sick. You better bring a new batch over or we'll call the police on you. You must be crazy." The neighbor hung up promptly, and the mother-in-law, holding the phone, smirked triumphantly. "Don't worry, they won't dare not to comply." Unfortunately, she was wrong. Not only did the neighbor dare, but he also shared the recording of the call in the homeowners group chat. Angelo became infamous overnight as everyone in the group criticized him and declared they would never lend anything to his family. Concerned about his reputation, Angelo left the group. Reading the chat log, I felt a secret thrill. Angelo's mother really is a gem, not leaving any bridge unburned for her family. As the city's temperature soared, many people moved to the suburbs, and within a few days, the surrounding villas were filled. Shopping here was inconvenient, forcing neighbors to borrow from each other. To avoid suspicion, we also joined the borrowing brigade. Anyone willing to lend to us received double in return. Over time, everyone assumed we were just here to escape the heat, and no suspicions were raised. Back in the city, the weather had become unbearable for humans. Attempts at artificial rain were futile. With the high temperatures came a sharp rise in deaths. The government deployed armed police to maintain order and strictly limited residents' outings. Everyone had to rely on distributed supplies to survive, creating widespread panic. Fortunately, thanks to Polly's early warning, I managed to have a small haven amidst the chaos. I tried to contact Polly, but I never received a response. At that moment, Angelo initiated a video call. When the call connected, he appeared on the screen disheveled, his hair messily stuck to his forehead, his clothes soaked with sweat. Upon hearing his voice, his daughter excitedly ran over. "Daddy, I miss you so much. When are you coming to see me?" The daughter seemed to have no hard feelings about her previous injury. Angelo's face looked unnatural, and after a long pause, he replied softly, "Daddy misses you too. Where are you now?" "We are in a huge villa. And Mom bought me lots of yummy food, and we also," fearing that my daughter would mention stockpiling supplies, I quickly interrupted, "Why did you call?" My tone was cold and harsh, clearly catching Angelo off guard. He stammered, "I just wanted to see if you and our daughter are doing well. Poppy, have you moved? My mom's sick. We found a place for her to recuperate. You can see Coco is fine. No need to disturb us." I sent my daughter away and coldly dismissed him. Suddenly, Angelo's emotions collapsed. He bowed his head and tears streamed down like pearls falling off a string. "Poppy, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have betrayed you. These days have been truly painful for me. Give me the address. Let me take care of you, please." Watching him sob, I felt nothing inside. "Stop pretending, Angelo. Remember your face when you drove us out. Go live with your son. Spare me the disgust." After hanging up, I blocked all his contact information. Angelo's breakdown must mean something else had happened. I couldn't resist wanting to see the drama unfold, turning on the surveillance. Indeed, their household was in chaos. Jojo, using her pregnancy as an excuse, monopolized the government-issued supplies. Angelo and his father objected, but were thwarted by his mother's tactics of crying, making scenes, and threatening extreme measures. In her heart, her grandson was more important than anything. After a chaotic negotiation, Angelo and his parents had to share one portion of the supplies, while Jojo took 3 portions. Although I despise this homewrecker, I must admit her actions were quite satisfying to watch. Angelo's father was tyrannical, and his mother unreasonable. I had endured their torment for too long. It seems only a villain can deal with another villain. While Angelo's side was in turmoil, I faced a new challenge. Our location was too remote, lacking robust infrastructure, and soon enough, we lost both water and electricity. My father's generator and solar panels finally came in handy. Though not as reliable as municipal power, it was enough for our family of 4. I wasn't sure when the temperature would drop. Our 2 large freezers were still running. We dared not be reckless and mostly refrained from using the air conditioning. Adults might bear the heat, but children suffer, their higher body temperatures making it unbearable without air conditioning. My daughter's face was flushed from the heat, yet she never fussed, her considerate demeanor bringing my mother to tears. Seeing this, my father used scrap wood to build her a small hut and placed a small basin of ice inside, which made her much more comfortable. The lack of water and electricity was not the worst. The real fear was the emergence of theft and even robbery of supplies in our community. To prevent any mishaps, my father sealed the original basement door with concrete and moved furniture over it, creating a small door under the kitchen cabinet. With few villas having basements, when thieves came, they failed to find the basement door and didn't think twice, simply taking what was in the kitchen and fleeing. Later, when more groups came, my father and I confronted them directly with axes and stun guns. Seeing that we were not to be trifled with and that there were no significant supplies at home, they left in disarray, and only then was I able to relax. When I reopened the surveillance feed from Angelo's place, I could hardly believe my eyes. Angelo and his parents were dividing up their meager supplies at the dining table, while Jojo was tied up in a corner with her mouth gagged with a rag. She looked at the 3 of them with fury, whimpering continuously. After finishing his meal, the father-in-law walked over to Jojo and kicked her, then went to the sofa to rest with his eyes closed. What was going on? Wasn't this woman, pregnant with a child, supposed to be treated like gold? The father-in-law had kicked her with all his might, causing Jojo to scream in pain and roll on the ground. The mother-in-law pulled her up and slapped her twice, saying viciously, "You little wretch. You've deceived us for so many days. If it weren't for wanting to get extra supplies through you, I would have thrown you out of the building." As she spoke, she became more infuriated, smashing Jojo's head against the wall until she was bloody before stopping. Through her continuous curses, I finally understood the whole story. It turned out that Jojo was not pregnant at all. A few days ago, she had been caught changing her sanitary pad by the mother-in-law to secure a grandson. The mother-in-law had given most of their supplies to Jojo, enduring hunger herself for many days. Discovering the deception, it was no wonder she lost her mind. The mother-in-law was so angry her face turned red, but I felt like applauding in front of the screen. This old lady was so obsessed with having a grandson. During Coco's last birthday, she had blindly followed some secret recipe that promised a son if the first child was fed a special medicine. She sent me away and secretly tried to feed Coco the medicine, but luckily it was so bitter and astringent that Coco refused to drink it and even spilled the bowl, narrowly escaping the ordeal. That night, Coco kept complaining about the bitter soup her grandmother wanted her to drink, and I found the residue of the medicine in the kitchen. When confronted, the mother-in-law brazenly scolded me for being useless and unable to bear a son. I was so furious that I had Angelo send her back to her hometown and left Coco in the care of my parents, just in case. I also installed hidden cameras in every corner of the house. Thinking back, I was seething with hatred, and now no matter how miserable the mother-in-law was, I felt no sympathy for her. Jojo, beaten to a pulp, lay on the ground with her eyes closed, her body covered with layers of old and new bruises. Not knowing how many days she had been abused, after beating Jojo, the mother-in-law was still not satisfied. She sat on the ground, crying and complaining. What sins have I committed? I just got rid of one disaster only to encounter another liar. Why is it so hard to have a grandson? I might as well have kept that woman with the last name Zhou. This old lady still obsessed over having a grandson, truly beyond help. Angelo watched his mother crying hysterically and finally snapped, slamming the table and shouting, "Enough, can't you just be quiet for a while?" The father-in-law, also losing patience, told her to shut up, and she finally quieted down. Jojo's eyes widened, her gaze sinister as she stared at the family of three, wishing she could tear them to pieces. I zoomed in on the screen and saw her subtly moving her hands behind her back, as if she was sharpening a blade against the ropes. With Angelo's family treating Jojo so cruelly, once she freed herself, she would surely seek the most brutal revenge. I was quite looking forward to that day. Finally, her opportunity came one quiet night. She sawed through the ropes and secretly poisoned the water in the kitchen cabinet with rat poison. Angelo and his family, oblivious, assumed the water was spoiled due to the heat and forced themselves to drink it. The day ended tragically with the grandfather passing away suddenly. Angelo and his mother, having consumed less, were clutching their stomachs, rolling on the ground in agony, while Jojo burst into hysterical laughter at the sight. She tied up her mother-in-law and Angelo, scavenged a belt from the bedroom, and began lashing them mercilessly, cursing as she struck. "You worthless man, what did you promise me before? You said it was true love, that you'd marry me once you dealt with your wife. All lies just to trick me into having kids. You deserve to be cursed with no descendants, and you, old woman, dared to hit me. My own mother never laid a hand on me. Remember how you beat me. Today, I will pay you back tenfold." Her words grew more venomous, and her blows heavier. Soon, Angelo and his mother were bleeding profusely. Unsatisfied, Jojo grabbed some rubbing alcohol and poured it over their wounds. Screams of agony echoed from her phone until the video abruptly stopped, likely due to a power outage in the city. I calmed my breathing, haunted by the terrifying scene. Jojo's mental state must have been tormented beyond normalcy, and Angelo and his mother were probably facing a bleak existence. I couldn't keep up with Angelo's life, my only distraction being my phone. Online, the death toll was rising, and the temperature outside had reached levels unbearable for ordinary activities. Only firefighters and police, equipped for the conditions, were active on the front lines of the disaster. Powerless, I could only pray for their safety. Soon, even the signals died, cutting off all communication from the outside world, leaving me to wait out the heatwave disaster. Our family of three moved permanently into the basement. To keep our spirits up, my mother creatively prepared meals, and my father crafted many small toys for my daughter. Together as a family, we could endure any hardship. 3 months later, a torrential rain arrived and lasted 3 days, significantly cooling the city down, though it was still the heat of summer. People could finally venture outside. Stepping out of the basement, the glaring sun blinded me momentarily. It took a while before I could see the landscape clearly. The garden was withered, the ground cracked, life seemed drained from everything, yet people cheered, celebrating rebirth. A month later, the city had resumed function, and I received a call from the police station. They informed me that when the rescue team arrived at my house, they found a deranged woman and 3 skeletons. Identified as Angelo and his parents, Jojo had lived with the bodies for months, driving her into madness, and she was committed to a psychiatric hospital. Still technically married to Angelo, it fell on me to handle their affairs. I entrusted everything to the funeral home and distanced myself from further involvement. I then sold the house, stayed on a few more months through a rental arranged by an agent. I called in a team to reinforce the house inside and out. Despite my parents' wish to move things up from the basement, which I discouraged. Mom, Dad, I think we need to stock up on supplies again. Just days ago, Polly sent a cryptic image and then went silent. I hope all these precautions aren't an overreaction.